Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. Hope everybody's having a good evening so far. Obviously, it's been a pretty quiet day overall. Obviously, there was supposed to be some severe weather today across the Midwest. We did see some, it just was not to the extent of what was forecasted, but we still have more severe weather to come tonight and as well as into tomorrow, and it actually looks to be quite significant tomorrow. We are watching for all modes of severe weather, including some massive hail, very high damaging winds, and the threat for a few tornadoes across the Ohio Valley, and even parts of the Midwest, and as well as back down through the Mississippi Valley tomorrow. It is going to be a very active day tomorrow. I can just tell you that right off the bat. We're going to have multiple rounds of storms, and they're going to be all over the place. We're going to be watching across at least 15 to 20 states tomorrow, a risk for severe weather. I'm going to be breaking down basically everything that you need to know in this live stream, including the specific timing, as well as the threats, the setup, everything that you basically need to know and want to know will be in this live stream. But we're first going to begin with what's happening right now across the United States, which is basically the prerequisite of what we're going to see tomorrow across areas like the Ohio Valley. So as of right now, we do have a low pressure system that is spinning back up into areas in the Midwest, and it looks like my pen is not working, so this might just take a second. Good times. This is the second stream in a row we've had technical difficulties to start. Just give me 1 second. The pen software that I used decided to not work, so one moment please. Try this again. But what I was saying is that there is a low pressure system right now back up in the Midwest. That is essentially what is spawning off showers and storms right now in terms of severe weather. We have seen some severe weather today, and closest to the low pressure system is actually where we have seen a few tornadoes. We saw a few tornadoes in Minnesota today. Most of them were not like strong or anything like that. They were fairly brief. But again, we did see a few tornadoes earlier today across those areas. And one of the more concerning features for the rest of tonight will be the risk of damaging winds. And that's going to be primarily across areas back over in the Midwest. So that's definitely a concern for tonight as these storms do march from west to east, and I'm going to show you more on that on the actual radar feed in a little bit once we get to that. But as of right now, you'll notice all the red across areas like Wisconsin as well as Illinois. Those are your really cold cloud tops, and that's where we're seeing some significant storm activity right now. That's all moving into areas close to Chicago and maybe even Milwaukee overnight tonight. And again, I don't think we'll see any too much severe weather for the rest of this evening. It's going to be primarily in western Illinois, and then these storms will weaken as they move off to the east. So I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Otherwise, down in the southern plains, not really a surprise here, but we do have a few storms that have formed this afternoon back down in areas in Texas. That is primarily across central Texas. Abilene just saw a severe storm, like literally right now. Actually, they're seeing storms about 30 minutes ago or so just west of Abilene. There was a 75-mile-per-hour wind gust confirmed. So obviously there are some severe storms down there, but they are very isolated and they are going to weaken out very quickly. Daylight heating is going to be coming to an end, so no really big concerns about severe weather tonight after really about 9 or 10 o'clock tonight across areas like the southern plains. And then we finally have a little bit of drier weather in the southeast, something that we've not been able to say, by the way, in a long time. Areas in the southeast like Florida, Georgia, Alabama have been seeing non-stop showers and storms. They're not really non-stop, but they've at least seen storms pretty much almost every day for the last couple of weeks, but it's finally looking a little bit drier there for tonight. I cannot say that though about tomorrow. Tomorrow will definitely be a bit of a different story there. But really what the setup is across the United States, we're not in that omega block pattern anymore. We had a little bit of that earlier this week. That is now moving out. Our low pressure system in the upper levels here, this is the jet stream, is back over in the northern plains. And we have fairly strong upper level winds. That's a bit of a concern for tomorrow because that could increase the longevity of supercells back over into areas like the Ohio Valley. But as we go into tomorrow, you'll notice that low pressure system starts to drop down to the south and east. And when that happens, we're going to have stronger upper level winds across areas in, again, potentially the Ohio Valley and as well as the Mississippi Valley. That's a bit concerning for our severe weather setup tomorrow. And then once we go into the late week of this, or even into like the early to midweek, we're going to be watching down the southern plains a fairly strong high pressure system. This is basically going to be a heat dome. We could see record-breaking temperatures in Mexico and Texas throughout the entire work week, and beginning with Monday and even potentially tomorrow as well. Actually, one place in Texas, I can't remember the name, but Rio Grande Village, I believe it was, that area is forecasted to reach 120 degrees tomorrow. That would tie the all-time Texas heat record. That is like the highest temperature ever recorded in Texas. So we might actually tie that tomorrow. But we do have another heat dome returning down there. Obviously not really related to the severe weather threat for the next couple of days, but I just want to kind of throw that out there. All right, let's talk about the rest of tonight really briefly. It's not very concerning. Again, it's just isolated damaging winds, maybe some sporadic hail as well, primarily across areas in western Illinois. This is the short-term concern in terms of severe weather. We still have a couple of storms as well back up in Minnesota. those are obviously going to produce a threat of severe weather, but it's very low, just isolated severe weather overall. And then back down to areas like central Texas, we do still have that little marginal threat. That's again for maybe a little bit of damaging winds and hail over the next hour, but after that, everything is done back down there in central Texas and even down into the Big Bend as well, Texas. That's another area that we have a couple storms in right now. So for the timing for the rest of the tonight, I'm just going to refresh this real quick. But overall tonight, we're not looking at anything too crazy, just some showers and storms. It's fairly disorganized, no organized line of storms really. We have a little organization in eastern Iowa right now that's about to cross over into Illinois, but it's again not really anything too concerning, just isolated damaging winds. Once we go into the overnight hours past midnight, storms will be starting to get closer to Chicago. Might wake up to some rumbles of thunder if you're in the Chicago region, but I'm not forecasting any severe weather at this time. It looks to be very minimal storm activity. Again, you might see some storms, but they're not really going to be severe at that point. So good news there, but there will be at least some thunder and lightning. And then once we go to tomorrow morning, that is what's going to actually end up going through areas like Indiana, Ohio in the morning. We're actually going to potentially see a little line of storms during the morning. This will, again, not be really severe, but it actually could maybe limit the severe weather threat just a little bit for tomorrow. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment on our future radar. So let's go ahead and talk about what tomorrow looks like. It has changed since my video forecast today. There is an enhanced risk of severe weather, which includes areas like Ohio, Kentucky, and as well as Tennessee. And this is obviously this could get changed by tomorrow. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be shocked if there's another enhanced risk somewhere else, potentially like Arkansas. I'll show you why in a little bit, but there is a chance so that this enhanced risk does grow a bit more than what it currently is. But this is where we at least have the highest confidence for tomorrow in terms of some significant severe weather. That's again across areas like Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. But outside of there, we still have a slight risk of severe weather. And if you're anywhere in any of these risks of severe weather, you definitely want to make sure that you are alert tomorrow, because these are not going to just be isolated supercells. We are probably going to be watching for some numerous to widespread storm activity. Now, not all of that will be severe, but some of it will, and the ones that are severe could produce some significant damaging winds, very large hail, and perhaps maybe a few tornadoes. Again, that threat extends from Michigan all the way back through areas even in northeast Texas, goes to the Gulf Coast as well. This is a very large area that we're talking about, and I cannot stress that enough. It is covering at least about 10 to 15 states in here. I didn't count, but that's at least 10 states from at least my eye. Now, talking about the hail threat for tomorrow, significant hail is definitely a possibility, especially in Arkansas. I have a bit more of a concern about large to very large hail down in parts of Arkansas. That is where we have a bit of steeper lapse rates, and as well as a more prime setup for some of those significant hailstorms. So we could very well see some fairly significant hail, especially across, again, areas in central and even northern Arkansas as well. This could go a little bit further off to the north. We'll have to wait and see on that. The other hatched area is going to be back through areas in Indiana as well as back through northern Tennessee. This is, again, where we could see some fairly significant hail. Hail core, or the hail threat right now, is going to be peaking around 3 to 3.5 inches in diameter. That's kind of my forecasted maximum hailstone size at this time. And we could see hail outside of that. It's just not going to be nearly as significant, but we will at least see some range there of upwards of maybe golf ball to hen egg sized hail. Damaging wind threat for tomorrow. We are not on tossing trampolines on trees Thursday, but we are going to be watching for some flying trampolines, especially across that red shaded area. That is where we have an enhanced risk of severe weather, and that is why, because we have that damaging wind threat, we could see the damaging wind threat increase, especially across areas in Ohio and back through areas even as far south and west as Arkansas. It's not out of the question. I would not be surprised. I'm, again, not the Storm Prediction Center. I don't know if they will do that, but I would not be surprised if that happens. We do currently have, though, at least that small red shaded area that indicates a 30% chance within a 25-mile radius of damaging winds, upwards of, again, anywhere from 60 to like 80 miles per hour. That's the current range. I've seen some crazy forecasts already that are mentioning damaging wind potential upwards of 100 miles per hour. I don't foresee that at this point, but there's always an isolated chance of that. It's a very low chance. I would expect really the main range, though, 60 to maybe 70 miles per hour, maybe a couple storms upwards of 80, but it should be a pretty low threat overall going above 70 just with the setup that we have, even though we have some pretty strong lower level winds, but I don't think it'll be at that extent in terms of what we saw, like, for example, in Tulsa a few days ago where we had those 100 mile per hour winds. Tornado risk, I know a lot of people are always wondering, what is the tornado threat across, our severe weather coverage area? Well, at this current time, it's low. It's not that concerning. I still am most concerned about a damaging wind threat. We do not have all the ingredients in place for multiple tornadoes in terms of 5, 10, 15, 20, but we do have a chance at least for a few. So maybe somewhere between the 0 to 5 number in terms of a tornado risk. But this is a pretty large area. Don't forget that. So we could see tornadoes literally anywhere in this area. It's covering a fairly large area from Arkansas all the way back through Ohio. And that means that we could have a bit more tornado activity than what it would be if we were just to have a small marginal threat, for example, back up in Iowa. That's kind of what I just mean by that. So definitely a concern for tomorrow is mainly damaging winds, maybe some large large to very large hail as well, depends on where you are, and as well as that threat for us also a few tornadoes. All right, let's talk about some of the upper level dynamics, and I'm going to go into the severe weather timing. We're going to get there in just a moment, so we're going to go state by state on timing. But I just want to kind of mention, for those that are a bit more weather geeks here, I do want to kind of show you what the upper level winds look like, or not upper level, the mid and low level winds. Those are really going to help increase the risk for severe weather. You'll notice as we go into Sunday afternoon, we actually have fairly strong mid-level winds, and that could very well help to really increase the updraft intensity, as well as potentially produce some larger hailstones. We are definitely watching some strong mid-level winds here across areas into the Ohio Valley, and when those storms do fire up going into the afternoon hours, that is going to be a bit more concerning here. You'll notice the wind speeds around 50 to 60 miles per hour, so the mid-level winds will be fairly strong tomorrow. That overall, my goodness, overall, that usually increases the organization of supercells as well, so that's definitely some key notes there. And then the low-level jet, which helps to rotate supercells at the lower levels. You'll notice as we go into the afternoon hours on Sunday, we will have a stronger area of lower level rotation, so that will again increase the potential for some rotating supercells. But since this is a linear line of storms, I don't foresee a huge tornado threat. I still think it's on the low side of things, despite having some of that low-level jet intensity. Now, if we do end up seeing a few discrete supercells, that threat could get a bit more increased, but for right now, I'm still thinking it's gonna be a low tornado risk overall. Another key thing with all this is the dew points. This is a very unique setup. I can just say that right off the bat, because we don't usually see dew points this high into areas like the Ohio Valley. We're going to be talking about dew points upwards of the low 70s as far north as Indiana and Ohio as we go into tomorrow afternoon. That is definitely very humid and oppressive, and we're definitely going to be watching for some very high dew points. That'll increase the buoyancy, and that overall will just, again, increase the risk for severe weather. So we have a lot of concern there, but again, that's not really contributing a whole lot to the tornado risk. It's more contributing to the damaging wind and hail potential. Now, the instability is another key ingredient that we have to watch for tomorrow. We have a lot of instability available tomorrow. You'll notice this is about 10 in the morning tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of instability from Chicago all the way back through Oklahoma. There's going to be, I mean, it's not off the charts, but we're watching around 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of instability. That's going to be a lot of instability to help to fuel these severe storms that could end up firing tomorrow. And I'm, again, expecting pretty scattered, numerous, even maybe widespread severe weather, or not severe weather, but storm activity across this region. Some of that could, again, be pretty severe as well. But this is a lot of instability for tomorrow's setup. We are talking about upwards of 3,000 joules per kilogram out of some of these storms. So if you're anywhere in the Ohio Valley or the Mississippi Valley, you definitely want to make sure you have a tornado action plan in place. Make sure you take the proper precautions. Again, I don't foresee a huge tornado risk, but I would at least have that precaution in place. I still think, though, the damaging wind threat is the main concern for tomorrow. But again, a lot of instability. It does increase the risk of severe weather. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you in terms of the setup, and then we'll get to the timing, is the significant tornado parameter. And I know a lot of people are worried about the tornado risk, and I'm just trying to help you at the best I can and not panic you about the tornado risk. It's not that high tomorrow. It's really low overall for this sort of setup. You'll notice as we go into the afternoon, there will be some available energy for a possible tornado, and the highest areas right now that are being indicated by the tornado parameter are across areas in western Kentucky and as well as into Tennessee during the early afternoon hours. So this is around lunchtime or so, and as well as back over into Indiana, Ohio. But that is really contingent on there being discrete supercells. And again, I don't see that really happening across this region. I see a lot of these storms most likely developing tomorrow being in a linear line of storms, which is contributing to more of a damaging wind threat. So overall, even though there's some of that energy for maybe a tornado or two, I still think the risk is low. There will definitely be probably at least a few tornadoes tomorrow, but they're going to probably be on the brief side of things. We might, again, see potentially maybe a little bit longer of a tornado, maybe a few minutes, but again, it's not going to be a widespread threat. It's basically like almost like 1 in 10,000 or whatever. I mean, again, it's such a low risk here across this area. The chance of you seeing a tornado yourself is really, really low. But overall, as you can see, going into the afternoon and evening, we still have some of that energy available across Kentucky, and I think the threat will increase a little bit more during the late afternoon across areas in central and eastern Kentucky. That is where I have a little bit more concern there about the tornado risk. All right, we're going to talk about the timing in just a second. Let me just get a breather for water. Thank you, Nick, for the $5 super chat. I'm just north of Detroit, wondering when you think I'll get some decent storms tomorrow. I'm actually going to go over that right now with this slide. I do appreciate the $5 super chat. All right, now let's talk about a bit more about Michigan. We're going to go from north to south, and that's the timing that we're going to be doing. We're basically going state by state in a way. We're going to be doing a couple states at a time, but we're going to first begin with Michigan, since this is the furthest north state. During the morning hours, there might be a few passing showers, nothing too crazy. Good amount of cloud cover most likely tomorrow morning. By the afternoon hours, there will be some instability opening up, so you'll notice out in front of the storms, there's a big gap here of no precipitation and probably not a whole lot of cloud cover. There might be some partly cloudy skies, so that could increase some of that instability here if if there's enough sunshine, so that could increase again the risk for some severe weather. But I think for tomorrow across Michigan, the risk is low. I think most of the storm activity will be gusty winds upwards of 50 to 55 miles per hour. There might be an isolated storm in here that produces damaging winds upwards of 60 to 70, but I think the overall general gist here across Michigan is primarily gusty winds, maybe a little bit of small hail as well. But overall, the severe weather threat in Michigan is fairly low at this time. Across areas in Illinois and as well as into Indiana, we'll be watching storms overnight, by the way, and I'll be actually showing you guys this on the live radar in a moment. But right now, going to the overnight hours, again, there will be some storm activity here across areas in Illinois as well as into Indiana. As we go into tomorrow morning, we'll be watching that little shower and storm activity moving off to the east, and then you'll notice by around lunchtime or so, there are some storms that will be starting to pop up across areas near the Great Lakes, but it becomes much more numerous to widespread as we go throughout the afternoon. So we'll have a bit more of a cluster developing, probably somewhere around southern Michigan as well as northern Indiana. And then once we go into the late afternoon hours, that is when this becomes a bit more to the extent of being almost not widespread, but more numerous. So we'll be watching for more numerous storm activity. There will be obviously some gaps in this line of storms. It's not going to be a full-blown derecho or anything like that. We don't have that correct setup for that, but we'll at least have probably at least some scattered to numerous storms that could produce the threat of some scattered to numerous damaging winds. So definitely a concern for tomorrow. And then going into the evening hours and potentially closer to around 8 to 9 o'clock, those storms move through areas like Cincinnati and as well as Kentucky. Now going into areas like Ohio, this is another area that we have to watch for. Not really during the morning hours. There will be some storm activity out there, but a lot of this will not be super significant. A lot of it is just going to be the potential for gusty winds and perhaps maybe some small hail. But once we go into the afternoon hours, that is when things really start to increase. So around 6 o'clock or so, you'll notice that line of storms pushing through areas near Toledo, Bowling Green, as well as near Lima. That's going to be the more concerning feature where we have a line of storms that could produce some pretty significant damaging winds. This is 8 o'clock as well, Eastern time. As we go into tomorrow, we'll be watching storms near Marion, as well as near Delaware and Columbus, and as well as near Cincinnati, and eventually going closer to 10 to 11 o'clock. Storms continue to march down to the east-southeast, maybe southeast direction, mainly damaging winds, maybe a couple of storms with large hail, and then again, perhaps maybe an isolated tornado, but I still think that threat stays low tomorrow, and then eventually going into the overnight hours, that storm activity will clear out. For Kentucky and Tennessee, and as well as anywhere in southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and southern Ohio, storms overnight, again, not really expecting much. There might be a couple storms as you wake up tomorrow near Paducah or Evansville, but the severe weather threat, again, very low to zero for the morning hours. It really increases during the afternoon, so this is by around 5, 6 o'clock. We could get some discrete cells firing off. It's going to be kind of a close call here. They might be a bit more discrete. They might be a bit more clustered. Really what we want is more of a clustered area of storms, so we don't really have to deal as much with a significant hail and as well as a significant damaging wind threat and as well as a significant tornado threat. That is kind of a bit more of the concerning feature here. If we're able to get some discrete cells instead of these, like, you know, potentially clustered storms almost, that could increase the tornado risk, and again, it could increase really all modes of severe weather being a bit more significant. So that is the concern here across areas in Kentucky tomorrow. You'll notice as we go closer to 7 to 8 o'clock, storms continue to move off to the east and eventually going closer to 10 to 11, more clustered storms by then. And really the big difference between discrete and clustered storms, basically a linear line of storms, discrete cells usually are not sharing energy amongst other storms, so they have a better capability of, you know, severe weather being significant. And then when we're looking at storms that are more clustered, like this, for example, on this future radar around 11 o'clock tomorrow, that is more of a shared energy amongst themselves, decreasing the risk for severe weather overall across that area. So that's kind of the difference there. So usually, obviously, clustered means a bit more widespread in terms of storm action, but it does mean a lesser severe weather threat in a lot of regards. Not all the time, but in this sort of setup, that would be what we're looking at. Going into the overnight hours, storms start to clear out. Severe weather is going to be done no later really than about midnight or so tomorrow across areas in Kentucky and as well as Tennessee. Arkansas is a very interesting state tomorrow. We are looking at a very interesting setup here. So you'll notice going into the afternoon, we're going to be watching storms fire off almost in a blink of an eye around probably about 2 to 4 o'clock tomorrow. That's like the general timing here. Across areas in northwest Arkansas, we could see some really significant hailstorms pop off pretty quickly, and as well as damaging winds. And eventually going closer to 4 to 5 o'clock, a fairly large area of storms, even a complex, could turn into an MCS situation across areas in central Arkansas. This is concerning more for the damaging wind and large hail threat, but there might be, again, perhaps maybe a brief tornado. And eventually going into closer to 6 to 7 o'clock, those storms move off to the east and as well as down to the south, depending on where you are. So if you're down in southern Arkansas, you're watching for this. And then if you're back over in Tennessee or even Mississippi, you're watching for this area, storms back over near Mississippi as well as Dyersburg. Going closer to about 8 to 9 o'clock, those storms continue to move down to the south and east, and eventually going into the overnight hours, there might still be some storm activity as late as like 1 or 2 in the morning down here. There's a lot more instability, a lot more moisture as well, so that obviously creates some more concerns there, and eventually going into the morning hours Monday, things again clear out. Now, one place that's a bit more of a wild card, which was not really in the forecast for a while until really today, was Mississippi and Alabama. They're not going to be really seeing a whole lot of storm activity, most likely until the late evening and into the overnight hours, but the HRR model has been picking up on maybe a small complex of storms during the early to mid-afternoon across areas like northwest Georgia and as well as northeast Alabama. That could create some concern for some damaging winds, but once we go closer to about 8, 9 o'clock, we're watching a line of storms pushing through areas in Mississippi. As that pushes down to the south and east, we'll be watching mainly for damaging winds. I don't foresee much of a tornado risk again here, but there might at least be a little bit of sporadic hail with this. It's mostly going to be damaging winds, though, and that'll all move down to the south and east. One thing I did not mention with all these storms, they could very well be highly electrified. That means that there could be a lot of lightning with these storms. So again, make sure you're taking the proper precautions tonight. One good thing you should do is take down your patio umbrella. Again, patch down those trampolines. We do have a high risk right now of flying trampolines tomorrow. That could get upgraded to an extreme risk. And yeah, that's basically what we're looking at in terms of those threats tomorrow. Loose line items, make sure you take all those proper precautions. And most importantly, protect your vehicles as well, because there could be some large hail. Even though the hail threat tomorrow is not overly high, it's more of a damaging wind threat. I would still be making sure you're monitoring the weather very closely, because we could very well see some large hail as well. All right, that's it pretty much for the forecast. I'll be taking questions here for the next few minutes, but we are going to go to the radar as well in a moment, because I do want to actually check out what's happening on the radar, so we're going to go ahead and start pulling that up right now. Thank you, Matthew, for the $4.99. I'm chasing in Owensboro, Kentucky tomorrow. How are we looking? Owensboro, Kentucky. I would have to figure out where that is first. Give me 1 second. Thank you for the $4.99 as well. Let's go and do this real quick. Lag a little bit here for a second. Owensboro, Kentucky. If that's on the western side of the state, it's probably a pretty good spot, especially for tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, that's not a bad spot by any means. It's a little bit of a tough spot. I don't know where you're exactly be chasing, but it's not a bad spot if you're trying to go west to east. If you're just going to start from Owensboro and maybe start going down 165 or maybe 54, not a bad spot by any means. But yeah, that's not bad at all. All right, real quickly, by the way, just want to kind of talk about the radar a little bit for just a minute. We do have some severe weather out there. Again, it's not very significant tonight. I just want to kind of break this down real quick. We do have a little line of storms, not really even a line, it's more of a cluster, that's kind of pushing through areas north of Davenport and as well as near south of Platteville. This is all moving down to the east-southeast. A lot of this activity is mostly just damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. So just make sure you're staying away from windows as these storms go by. All the other storms in Iowa right now are not severe. Back further down to the south, near areas near Kahua. I don't know how to say that name, so I do apologize. That's southwest of Fort Madison. That's producing 60-mile-per-hour winds and as well as quarter-sized hail. That's also near Montrose. That's the easiest one to pronounce there. Further down to the south, near Hannibal, this area is also producing some hail around even maybe upwards of ping pong ball sized hail, but we're talking about mostly about quarter to $half sized hail. The warning near New London as well as near Hannibal is actually for 2-inch diameter hail, so that's a concern here. These storms are moving down to the east southeast, and one more north of Pittsfield. This is going to be north of Interstate 72. This is moving off to the east, producing the risk for maybe some damaging winds and a little bit of large hail. Otherwise, though, the severe weather in Texas is very minimal. We do actually have a severe storm near San Angelo that is producing damaging winds around 60 miles per hour, so that's also a concern there. We have a lot of damage reports coming out of Abilene area. Power poles down in the area. We also have some tree limbs down, power lines down near Hamby, so that's also a concern there, but that severe storm is no longer severe. It's just a weakening storm at this point, so good news there, but yeah, that's pretty much what's happening there. All right. I missed a super chat. How is Louisville going to be? Louisville would mainly probably have the threat for damaging winds. But be prepared for maybe some large hail as well. I wouldn't rule out an isolated tornado risk. I still think it's low for most of, if not all of the Ohio Valley, but my main concern for tomorrow for any area in particular would be Kentucky in particular. That is the area that I have a bit more concern in western Kentucky about that threat for a tornado. So for right now, I think western Kentucky is a bit more in the realm for that tornado risk, but maybe outside of that we could also see one. But yeah, that's right now what I'm looking at mainly for that. I almost just dropped my water bottle onto my My Stream Deck. That was close. Yeah, if you have any questions about the severe weather across anywhere tonight or as well as tomorrow, let me know. Again, we just did the whole forecast on tomorrow, so if you have any questions that maybe you have not heard about, or if you're just tuning in, make sure to go back to the very beginning of the stream. We did a full forecast and timing guide for all the severe weather. But I will be answering some questions, so feel free to leave some in the chat. Do you think there's a chance for a 45% wind probability? I doubt it, to be honest. I don't think we're going to be getting to that range, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have an extension to the current risk that we have tomorrow in terms of that enhanced risk. This is what it looks like right now, by the way. That's today. Here's tomorrow, though, so a little bit better view of it. I believe Louisville's just on the cusp of that enhanced risk. Yeah, you're kind of just in it, but again, the risk being slightly off there is not really going to make or break the severe weather potential. It's just a forecast. Real quickly, I'm going to check the wind gusts. There's a computer model in the HR model that's sometimes useful. It's called the wind gusts. It's very basic, but it actually can sometimes show you the damaging wind length area. So I'm actually going to show you guys this. Let's go over to here. I have a water ball in my way. Let me move that. This is kind of a cool little graphic I sometimes use. I don't use it too often for forecasting severe weather, but it gives you an idea of where the highest damaging wind gusts will be out of severe storms and whatnot. So this going into the afternoon and evening, notice the yellow. The yellow area is going to be those damaging wind threats, and there's a lot of it across areas like Arkansas as well as into northern Indiana during the mid-afternoon hours, and then once storms start to fire off a bit more across areas like Ohio, for example, storms become a bit more elongated. Damaging wind threat starts to increase a little bit, and then we have a lot of damaging wind potential down in Arkansas, and as well as back down near Kentucky. Again, a lot of these storms will be more in the gusty wind sort of category, and also the HRR model does typically overdo the wind gusts in a lot of facets, but there is going to be at least some damaging winds along those areas of storm. So you'll notice that first area down here, second area over here in Kentucky, so that's actually near Louisville, and then the third area is going to be back up in here through Ohio, and then once we go closer to around like 8-9 o'clock, those areas obviously start to shift further down to the south and east depending on where you are, but the peak wind gust that is being currently estimated by the HRR model, we'll have to go a little bit closer up here, I think to Ohio. But again, this is just a computer model. It's just, you know, these are not always accurate, but it says about 80 miles per hour. That's the peak wind gust. And again, this specific area probably will not see that exact wind gust, but at least gives you an idea that the peak wind gust across this entire region tomorrow, so not just Ohio, anywhere from Michigan all the way back through Northeast Texas, is probably gonna be about 80 miles per hour. But this is just one of those computer models that I sometimes look at for, more than anything, just kind of see where the wind gusts are going to be kind of in the range of. So that's what we're looking at, though. Probably at least some gusty winds across this. And you'll notice, again, it's not widespread damaging winds. This entire thing here, the HR model showing, is not widespread damaging winds. It's more than anything just some, you know, maybe scattered damaging winds. That's mainly the pocket down there near Troy on this computer model. Further to the north, though, we're looking at gusty winds between 40 to 50. That's not severe. So just kind of keep that in mind. I just want to kind of show that because it's a little cool tool there. But again, this is our area for tomorrow in terms of severe weather. Tonight, severe weather is back up further to the north. So that's the couple different risks right now in these areas. Thank you, D, for the $9.99. I appreciate it. If you're chasing, I'm thinking Fort Wayne or Louisville. Fort Wayne. Let's see. I don't even remember where Fort Wayne is. I'm not going to lie. That's up here. Okay. It depends on what you're trying to look for. If you're looking for more of a tornado risk, if you're storm chasing, I would recommend going further to the south, down closer to these storms that develop back southwest of Louisville. That has the best chance at this current time in my forecast. It has the highest chance, at least, of more discrete supercells, but again, those could cluster up very easily. It's going to be kind of a close call on that, but they'll have a better chance of being, you know, discrete. Further closer to Fort Wayne, for example, that's going to be more of a linear line of storms. That's going to be your, you know, normal variety of damaging winds. That's probably what's going to end up happening. So if you're looking for that threat, and maybe like a shelf cloud or something like that, you'll probably have pretty good success back up, maybe north of Fort Wayne. I don't know about Fort Wayne particularly, but maybe near Toledo, Ohio, or even just east of Interstate 69. But better chance of seeing some more significant supercells is likely down there in western parts of Kentucky. So. Morgan, if you're wondering about timing, go back about 10 minutes. I was just talking about that. Go back. You can scroll down and scroll it back about 10 minutes. Again, I have a whole timing guide for state by state that I just put in this live stream. So I highly recommend looking at that. We have a pretty impressive hailstorm, by the way, back near Hannibal. This is south of Quincy in Missouri. It's a pretty impressive storm here. Kind of curious on the correlation coefficient here. Yeah, you'll notice over here, the correlation coefficient, pretty definitive area of hail. When we see these greens and blues pop up, that's a hail core, so definitely some hail falling here. Storm may have gotten downgraded. Nope, still 2 inches, but it's probably in the range of around ping pong to golf ball sized hail is my guess here. But we definitely have a hail core here, just southeast of Hannibal, and again, this is north of St. Louis, Illinois. So interesting little area here that we're watching. Currently, we're over in Illinois and Missouri. But yeah, again, this is more of a forecast live stream, but I can't really resist with this severe weather action. There's some interesting stuff happening here. We have a lot of damaging wind reports again down in Abilene. A lot of power line stuff down. So that is one of the unfortunate things. What warning count are we at? We're at 5. I think it's at 8. Just gonna edit so it's at 8. All right. Severe weather on Monday in Pennsylvania. So the severe weather on Monday is not very concerning at this current time. I don't think it will be very concerning either. This is currently the risk for severe weather on Monday. So it's, again, not very concerning. It's a low risk. It got upgraded, so this is not the right outlook. Actually, let's go back to the software, because this is not updated. It's a little bit more expanded, but the Storm Prediction Center actually today, they did issue a larger risk area at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. They actually did a little bit of a rare day 3 update. They usually don't do day 3 updates, but there's a pretty large slight risk of severe weather now across the east coast of the United States, mostly just the mid-Atlantic region. So from about New York back through areas near Charleston, in South Carolina. This is mainly for damaging winds. There might be a little bit of sporadic hail, maybe a brief tornado. That's pretty much about it for Monday. I mean, it looks a bit more scarier than what it is, but it's mainly because we're going to be watching for storms across a larger area, again, from about New York back through Florida. So, yeah, I mean, again, it looks concerning. It obviously is definitely something you want to, be prepared for, but there's no reason to panic about this. It's definitely not as high of a threat as what we're going to see tomorrow. I think, again, I've been kind of saying this for the last couple days anyways. I think I've been saying this since Thursday, that tomorrow would be the greatest chance for severe weather and the threat for a severe weather outbreak. It's pretty much easily going to be Sunday, just due to the fact we have a much stronger low pressure system as we go into tomorrow, and we'll have a setup that is favoring multiple different clusters and maybe even some small lines of storms that could pose a threat for some damaging winds. So that's one of the bigger concerns right now for tomorrow in terms of the severe weather setup. All right. Ohio is mainly damaging winds. So if you're back anywhere in Ohio, it's mainly a damaging wind threat for tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, primarily if you're back over near like Mansfield, Sydney, Findlay, if I'm saying the name right, as well as Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati. This area here has really the greatest chance for damaging winds tomorrow. But obviously we could see that further to the east, so just be prepared either way. But it's going to definitely be focused across western and northern Ohio. That's where we could see some more significant damaging wind potential for sure. Thank you, Ice Cream, for the $2 super chat. How is Florence, Alabama going to look tomorrow? Florence, Alabama. Anywhere in Alabama is a damaging wind threat. But let me figure out where Florence is. So Florence in particular, you're mainly looking at a late evening / early overnight threat. So let me just go back to the timing again. And I highly recommend, if you have any timing questions about tomorrow, just, go back to earlier in the stream. It'll give you a better idea of what we're looking at. Because again, I literally went over every state. So if you have any questions there, it's a little bit better to do that. Here's Alabama and Mississippi for tomorrow. So again, this is a general estimated timing, but we're going to be watching mainly for just one area of storms, especially in northwest Alabama. There's a low chance of storms during the early afternoon, but it should stay to your east. There's still a chance, though. I mean, it's not like a guaranteed you're not going to get hit by it. But if you do get hit by this little cluster of storms during the afternoon, which I'm not too crazy about this, I don't think we'll see anything this crazy, like, this severe. It looks fairly severe on the HR model. It might just be a little line of storms, though, maybe producing some gusty winds, maybe a little bit of damaging wind potential. But the biggest threat is going to be closer to the late evening. So around 8, 9 o'clock, that's when storms will be impacting potentially Florence. This is one of those uncertainties, though. I mean, this is not a guaranteed either. It's going to depend on what happens in Arkansas. And if the Arkansas storms become severe enough and they really get some outflow boundaries going, this is very likely. But if that doesn't happen, the threat would be much lower. So this is not a guarantee, but I'd say it's about a 70% chance that we see something along these lines in terms of a line of storms, and eventually going closer to 10 to 11, the storms will start to weaken as they move down to the south and east. There's a lot more instability, though, down further to the south. So as these storms push down to the south, they'll have a lot more instability to work with. Therefore, these could last a little bit longer towards the Gulf Coast, potentially producing some damaging winds. So that's definitely a concern as we go into the late evening, as well as into the overnight hours. So just make sure you're prepared for that. But yeah, that's really probably going to be the main stuff, though, for Alabama and Mississippi. It's mainly just damaging winds, in my opinion. But we could maybe, again, see a little bit of sporadic hail. It's not out of the question. Tornado risk in Indianapolis, Illinois is going to be very low tomorrow. Again, it's not very concerning. It's a pretty low threat. Let's just real quickly go to Twitter. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any of the other severe weather. There isn't anything too crazy tonight. There's a little bit of severe weather happening, but again, it's not too crazy. But I'm just making sure nothing's happening in terms of tornado warnings. I don't think we'll have any more tornadoes tonight, but the threat still remains very low throughout areas in whatchamacallit, Illinois. It should be a really low threat. Mainly damaging winds for tonight. Also, thank you, Cynthia, for becoming a 4-month minimum velocity member. I appreciate it. Sorry, I missed that. No problem, ice cream. No problem, Matthew. Elizabeth, meteorology. So, I mean, broadcast meteorologist has always been my passion and what I want to do. But, man, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, in a sense. But, yeah, that's mainly that's the main thing I want to do, is be a broadcast meteorologist. So, TV, that sort of stuff. I've already been offered jobs to be on TV, but I've not taken them yet. Maybe sometime in the future. Not now. I'm doing well right now. I'm not in a bad position. Obviously, college is super expensive, but thank you, Jaws, for becoming a 10-month VIP Velocity member. Let's get some claps in the chat for Jaws. He has been around for a long time, and 10 months. I can't believe it's already been that long. Really appreciate it. Claps in the chat for Jaws. Welcome back. Thank you, Avery, for the $4.99. When you reach an anniversary on YouTube, can we wait for a wind threat and set up mini trampolines to be taken by said wind? That'd be an interesting one, I gotta say. That'd be interesting. Actually, that does bring up a good point. Let me show you the trampoline meter for tomorrow, because I know some of you guys are wondering, what is the trampoline forecast? Right now, again, it is on the high end. It's not extreme yet. I'm not confident enough in a extreme risk. Extreme risks only come out for the most extreme trampoline risks, but currently for tomorrow, we are on the high risk scale. So this is what we're looking at right now in terms of the threat level. What do these threats actually mean in context? Because you might be thinking, does a gone forever stage mean every trampoline is going to end up on a telephone pole? No, that's not what that means. The damaged photos that you're seeing here, these are all from March of this year, from the flying trampoline outbreak that we had in North Texas. And that's literally what I called it. But nobody else, I don't think, called it. I'm the only one crazy enough to call it a flying trampoline outbreak. But what these all basically mean, a low risk means like some very, very isolated flying trampolines, so maybe a couple. Medium risk means a few flying trampolines. A high risk means, a lot of, maybe like, a couple dozen flying trampolines. And extreme risk means we could see upwards of maybe even like 50 to 100 flying trampolines. And then gone forever means we have a full-blown outbreak. We have not been on a gone forever stage really at all recently. I think we've had one in the past month, but that was about it. And yeah, high risk is really where I usually stay with a lot of these risks. I usually don't go too much higher than that. Yeah, I don't think it's been, it doesn't feel like it's been 10 months, Jaws. I know. It's crazy how much time flies. Nate, the threat in Indianapolis, Indiana for a tornado risk is very low tomorrow. And for those that are wondering for tomorrow's severe weather risk in terms of tornadoes, this is what the Storm Prediction Center has outlined. And I fully agree with it, actually. I usually have some sort of critique, but this one's pretty much spot on with what I've said. I mean, the only thing that's very minor that would actually change would maybe move this back just a smidge, but even then, it's not really that much of a deal. The tornado risk is low, though, tomorrow. And really, the main concern is damaging winds across this entire area. Discrete cells are possible in this area. That's the one thing about it. That's why we have a 5% chance here within a 25-mile radius. It's slightly higher than the outside area, which is a 2% chance within a 25-mile radius of a tornado. But any tornado activity should be brief. It should be on the low end of stuff. But yeah, primarily in this area here near that brown shaded area, that is where we have the greatest chance right now for a couple of tornadoes. And that would be out of those discrete cells. The rest of this activity outside of that, so not including this area, is going to be mostly linear storms. That means lines of storms that we're going to be watching are clusters. Those are going to be sharing energy amongst themselves, which overall increases the risk for damaging winds and decreases the risk for tornadoes. Speaking of storms, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning near Pittsfield, Milton, and as well as Pearl and Eldara in western Illinois. This is for damaging winds up to 60 and quarters. Again, we're not really doing any crazy severe weather coverage here, but we are going to update you a little bit on the active severe weather, even though it's very minimal tonight. I was thinking about going live earlier, but, you know, I don't really feel right going live for such it's a very small event. And what we were seeing earlier, there were tornadoes on the ground. It was just such rural areas up in northern Minnesota. We did actually, I think, have 3 tornadoes on the ground back up in northern Minnesota. I think southeast of Grand Forks, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a few, but they were very brief, and they were very weak rotation. There was nothing crazy by any means today. Iowa definitely was a bit of I wouldn't say like a bust sort of severe weather event, but it was definitely on the lower end of what was forecasted. I was expecting more storm activity in terms of severe weather. So that didn't happen, but sometimes that happens, and sometimes that's always a good thing. Sounds good, Jaws. Good stuff. The clips are totally good. No, I appreciate that, because, yeah, again, if you're looking for timing and stuff like that, make sure to go to about 15 minutes, like the first 15 minutes, or not first 15 minutes of the live stream, but between minute 15 to about minute 20, I talked about state by state in terms of timing. Live tomorrow, I do not know yet. We'll see. My plans are very odd. They happen at very weird times, so I do not know yet. But if I do go live, I will try to. It's a great phrase. If I do go live, it'd probably be sometime after 6 is my guess. But maybe maybe before that too. I'm not going to do a video forecast tomorrow, so I might do a live stream in like the late morning. If there's any big updates, I might go live as well, do a little breakdown then, but I'm not entirely sure about that yet. Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate it. Next week looks interesting. Next week is very interesting because we have a heat dome in the southern plains. Texas is going to be dealing with record-breaking heat. One thing I actually do want to mention, let's go over to that real quick. Next week, on the heat dome stuff, let's actually go over here real quick. Try to find the right graphic. This is next week on the jet stream. That's not the jet stream. That's the 500 millibar winds, but we can change it over. This is the jet stream, though, next week. So overall, next week, we're still watching that trough back up in the northeast United States. That's what brings severe weather, by the way, tomorrow is this low pressure system, as well as even tonight. And then once we go into Monday, severe weather will start to increase across areas along the East Coast. And then going into about mid next week, that is when we have a massive high pressure system, basically a heat dome, literally a heat dome, bringing the heat upwards of 100 to 110 degrees across almost the entire state of Texas. That is going to be potentially record setting and as well as extremely hot. Texas itself will be 99% warmer than the entire world. So, not 99% warmer. It'll be warmer than 99% of the world. That's how you put it. Sorry, I said that backwards. But that's also kind of interesting next week. And then back again over on the East Coast, that's where the other low pressure system will be. Very slow moving stuff. And then back over on the West Coast, another low pressure system there. And then eventually going to Wednesday, we have another troughing event going on near the West Coast. I'll have to go to the 12Z model here. But you can see new troughing as we go into late next week. Severe weather will increase again as we go into the later week. So a threat for maybe a severe weather outbreak exists, maybe in the northern or central plains, maybe on Thursday. Thursday will be the last day that I can go live. So until going into like July 6th or 7th. So if there's anything too crazy there, we'll go live for it. But right now, again, it's long-term vision at this point. Things change a lot. So there's some stuff I want to mention though there. Matador, Texas was not a EF5. It was an EF3. Maximum sustained winds of 165 miles per hour. And it was it was 0.34 miles in width. So we were talking about a tornado that maximized at a width of 0.34 miles. It was on the ground for about 9.4 miles. So it was on the ground for 9.4 miles. I don't know why I remember these numbers. I don't know why. I'm not looking at any sort of script here. But 9.4 miles is the length of the tornado, or how long it was on the ground for. Maximum sustained winds of 165 miles per hour. By the way, that is 1 mile per hour off from being an EF4 tornado. So it was an EF3, very high-end EF3 tornado that went through Matador, Texas. And a lot of people I see on Twitter are talking about, like, why was it an EF4? It should have been an EF4. Such a letdown, whatever. That stuff is such crap. The EF categories and stuff, that's what the National Weather Service rates the tornadoes and whatnot. And I don't know why people have an issue with having an EF3 tornado over an EF4 tornado. It really makes no sense to me. How they determine the damage is a lot to do with how buildings are built and structured. So, if the building itself is kind of like flimsy, doesn't have a whole lot of nails or whatever it might be built out of. I'm not a construction person, but if it's built out of cheaper stuff and it is completely leveled, it might not be an EF4, EF5 tornado. I mean, when we saw the Joplin tornado, for example, those homes were very well built and they got absolutely leveled. That was an EF5 tornado. But when we have some of those more like maybe mobile homes, for example, those aren't always EF3, EF4 tornadoes or EF5. But in this case, obviously, it was a strong EF3. Will it get upgraded in the near future? It's possible. It's a preliminary report. But really, when people complain about ratings, I just find it wild. It's really something that's, I'm going to say the word, it's stupid. It really is. It really is the dumbest thing going. Now, if you're going to complain about a rating, I don't even know. It's just, unless you have really definitive evidence and you did your own survey, but even then, I think that the rating is really fair, honestly. I think, in my opinion, I was saying it last night too, I was like, it's probably on the, an EF3, EF4 kind of area, and obviously a very strong EF3 is pretty much right on the cusp there, so. But again, either way, it's the same exact stuff. It's a very strong tornado. It killed 4 people and injured 15, so, again, prayers to anybody that was impacted by that. It's not a huge town in Texas, but it is obviously a very tight-knit community that was, or is there, and yeah, it was unbelievable. I wish I was live for that too, but that was a really bad tornado there in Matador. But yeah, again, it's a preliminary report. It's not official EF3, but that's what it is currently rated. It could change. It could go to an EF4. It could do whatever, but yeah, some mobile homes, I mean, I've seen tornadoes even in North Texas, and I do a lot of North Texas coverage. There have been mobile homes in the recent history that have gone almost completely leveled by tornadoes. And we had actually a tornado go through, I think it was Bowie, Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Not this year, it was a couple of years ago. And the tornado caused damage to a mobile home, and it pretty much got, I mean, it wasn't flattened, but it was very close to it. It was just completely, like, all the stuff was scattered everywhere. The tornado was only an EF1 tornado. So you just got to kind of think of it that way. I mean, mobile homes don't hold up very well with severe weather. They never have, and I don't think they really ever will, but, yeah. Oh, and actually, your mobile home creaks at 40 miles per hour. That's actually interesting. It's very interesting. Okay, I just saw this on Twitter. I follow Storm Chaser Nick on Twitter. He's a weather meme person, but I just saw him post something. The Los Angeles Angels are up 23-0 over the Colorado Rockies right now in the 4th inning. I don't watch baseball, but that is wild. All right, we do have a little update on tonight's severe weather, by the way. Just a very small update. Again, I'm not really doing much severe weather coverage tonight. I'm mainly talking about tomorrow's severe weather threat, but I'm going to mention it anyways. We do have a new area that we're watching. Actually, we do have a tornado warning. Never mind, we're doing some severe weather coverage. We do have a tornado warning issued for northwest Iowa. This is going to be near Storm Lake. This was just issued within the last minute. If you're anywhere in this area, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, interior room of your home or building. Again, we do have an active tornado warning ongoing in northwest Iowa. Again, rotation's located right about here. It is moving off to the north and east towards Sioux Rapids and as well as Rembrandt. So if you're in this area, again, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, interior room of your home or building. Again, this is a tornado warning. I'm going to have to go ahead and change my title real quick because now we're kind of doing severe weather coverage. All right. Again, this is currently in northwest Iowa. We do have a tornado warning ongoing. This is going to be pretty far northwest of Des Moines, but This is again a tornado warning that is now active. I just gotta make sure everything's changed over here. All right, we are currently good to go. But this is what we're looking at right now. This is northwest of Des Moines. Again, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible. Interior room of your home or building. This is again moving off to the north and northeast towards Sioux Rapids and as well as Rembrandt. I will still be answering questions, by the way, about tomorrow, but we are going to be doing a little bit more of this coverage since there is a tornado warning. I think I have a thumbnail made for today. I'll have to find that. I do. No problem, Priscilla. Can topography help with tornadoes? In some cases it can. Hills and mountains can definitely. I don't know about buildings necessarily, but I definitely know that I mean they can in ways depending on, you know, how tall they are. But usually it's usually geography. So, you know, large hills, mountains, those sort of things do really interact with tornadoes a lot more than what a building would. Depends on what the building size is. I mean, if it's a small building, they're not going to usually do a whole lot to a tornado. But if it's, you know, a much larger scale building that's bigger, wider, taller, all that sort of stuff, it might end up doing something. Because again, it depends on how strong the tornado though is. If it's a weak tornado, definitely. If it's a very strong tornado, probably not. Because the velocities are interacting with that building and the wind at the surface, so it kind of cranks around it anyways. Depending on how strong it is, I mean, it very easily could, you know, just blow through the building. Again, this is a tornado warning in northwest Iowa. This is literally just got issued within the last couple minutes. We do have some strengthening rotation here that's going to be located just to the southwest of Rembrandt. Moving off to the east-northeast towards Marathon. So if you're in this area, again, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. We do not have a radar site anywhere nearby. The radar site that's back up to the northwest of this has been down for 10 hours. So unfortunately, we do not have that radar site. We just have the one that's near Des Moines. So it's a bit more of a long stretch, but we have some strong rotation right now just northwest of Truesdale. Moving off to the east-northeast right now towards Rembrandt. Sioux Rapids could also be in the track of this. Again, just make sure you're seeking shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. This is in Buena Vista County, Illinois, by the way. Or not Illinois, sorry, Iowa. I don't know if I've been saying Illinois, but it's Iowa. I will probably not be covering early tomorrow morning severe weather, but I might if it's, again, I might go live sometime in the late morning, but I'm not 100% sure yet on that, so. Just make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts, but we'll see about tomorrow. A good thing that you should do, though, if you are curious about my tomorrow live coverage, make sure you click the bell icon down below. It's that little bell next to the subscribe button. Make sure you click that, click the bell icon so you get notified when I go live. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. That way you are able to see my live streams and whatnot in the feed. It's always a good thing to do. But again, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going live tomorrow and when I am. It usually just comes out of nowhere. I mean, tonight's live stream was kind of, you know, pre-planned about an hour beforehand, so sometimes I get noticed, sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on what it is. But again, we do have strong rotation located a few miles to the southwest of Rembrandt, Iowa. Again, fairly strong rotation. We don't really have any camera views in here. Storm Chaser Vince is not with us tonight. He was storm chasing earlier on a few of the other Iowa storms that developed in the early afternoon, which completely makes sense. This is kind of one of those storms that kind of popped out of the blue, really. So it's really random at this point in terms of this supercell. But it is close to the low pressure system, I believe. I mean, it's not too far off from it, so that could potentially be the cause of this particular supercell. I haven't really looked too in-depth in it, but pretty strong rotation right now, moving to the east-northeast. Could possibly drop a tornado at any time. Again, we do have a bit more of an obscured view of this tornado warning storm because of how far away from the radar site is. It's going to be stretching out those velocities a little bit more, and we're looking a bit higher into the elevation. So the further away we get from a radar site, I'm just going to do a quick diagram at the bottom right of your screen. This is like, let's say this is the radar site. The further away that we get, we're going to start to see a more inclined distance. So let's say this is like 10,000 feet or something like that. Over time, we're going to get to that point where we could be looking at clouds upwards of 10,000 feet, even if we're at the lowest radar site possible, which is the 0.5 degree angle. So that's obviously something to keep in mind here, especially for this storm. We could very well be looking around 5,000 feet, maybe 5, 6, 7,000 feet off the ground. So it might be rotating and maybe a little bit more of the mid-levels, but that's one of the problems with these very far-away radar sites. We technically have one that's closer, but again, I believe it's down. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's down. It's back up near Sioux Falls. and east of Sioux City. That's the one problem about it, but we definitely still have some strong rotation here. Tornado could drop at any time. There might be one on the ground. Again, it's very hard to tell with these sort of storms. There is a correlation coefficient area, but it's probably hail in here. This is probably all hail, so let me just recircle this. This is probably all hail in here, though. Hail might be anywhere from, nickel size, just a large quantity. It also could be upwards of golf ball sized hail, so that's also another concern with this storm, is the hail core. But I would definitely be more concerned about the tornado risk right now, because the velocities are quite strong. Moving off to the north and east, towards Rembrandt. The Storm Prediction Center updates again at 2 a.m. Eastern Time or 1 a.m. Central Time. Hey, Virginia, how's it going? Welcome back. Tornado possible tag in Illinois. All right, I'm going to check that out really quickly, and then we're going to back to that storm. Is it for this storm? Actually, there is a tornado possible for the northwest Illinois storms. It's most likely because we have a lot of little kinks in this little line here. A lot of little kinks. It's all kind of embedded in here, for the most part. Yeah, a lot of little kinks there. If any of these tighten, we could see a potential tornado at any time. Further down to the south and west, we don't really have a whole lot of activity there. It's mostly just storms that are producing damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. A lot of trees being reported down as well. And this tornado warning cell is in northwest Iowa. It is moving off to the east-northeast. I believe this is the first tornado warning in Iowa today. I could be wrong. I think most of the ones that we've seen today were all in Minnesota, but again, could be wrong on that. But this is moving off to the east-northeast again. Fairly strong rotation. Could drop a tornado at any time. If you're anywhere just in and around Sioux Rapids, if you're kind of on the southern side there, Sioux Rapids, you need to seek shelter. Rembrandt as well, you also need to seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible. In an interior room of your home or building. I'm going to hop on this real quick. We're going to pull Radar Omega up. And by the way, yes, I do officially have Radar Omega. We are actually going to be potentially using this a lot more in live stream soon, so I just want to throw that out there. Real quickly, I do want to look at the roads here in the area. Yeah, so again, it's fairly strong rotation, very good view of it here. Very strong rotation. If we take off, we're going to go back to the reflectivity. But here's what it looks like on the roads and whatnot. So we do have a fairly small town here in Rembrandt. Further to the north near Sioux Rapids, it's a bit larger of a town, so that's obviously a bit more of a concern there. That's going to be going possibly toward a bit more of a populated area, but there is still very strong rotation here. Very good view of it here on the Radar Omega app. Just southwest of Rembrandt. Very strong rotation moving off to the north and east. All right, let's go back over to here. So again, this is the latest radar scan as well. Very strong rotation moving off to the north and east towards Rembrandt, just to the west-southwest of Marathon, Iowa. So again, if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible. West of 71, again, not really far northwestern, but it is in northwest Iowa right now, moving off to the east-northeast. I don't think we'll see a moderate risk tomorrow. It is possible, but it is unlikely at this point. And I really don't think that it'll get there unless there's enough confidence, which I don't think there is really enough. By the way, thank you, Matthew, for the 199. I missed that from earlier. Appreciate the 199 super chat. I think that's the only thing I missed. All right, cool. I apologize about that. Again, this is one of those kind of out of the blue tornado warnings. We do have a low pressure system spinning up to the north. That might be what's fueling this storm. I don't exactly know. I haven't really looked this far up to the north. We can do a little loop here, but this might just be kind of spinning off from that low pressure system. But we do have a few storms out here. I mean, it's not just one. This was actually in the forecast tonight that we could see a few of these little cells develop. We have a few others out also north of Des Moines, but this is the one that's kind of just out there with some fairly strong rotation. So it's a possibility that one of these other storms as well produces a tornado risk. It's not out of the playing cards tonight, but this one in particular, again, very strong rotation. We are far away from the radar site. I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but since we're at an inclined angle from the radar site, it makes things a bit more difficult to be able to figure out whether, I mean, this is going to be probably at least 5, 6, 7,000 feet off the ground at the bare minimum since we're so far away from the radar site, which might be what we're looking at here is upper level rotation, or not upper level, but like mid-level rotation near the cloud base. So we might have like a wall cloud, maybe a funnel cloud of some sort. So that's what I'm thinking right now is what we're seeing. We could see a tornado though. Again, it could really happen at any time. I really doubt there's any storm chasers out this direction this late. This, again, kind of out of the blue, but it's not out of the question that there might be one or two. Make sure you're seeking shelter if you're anywhere in the Rembrandt, Iowa area. So again, radar indicated rotation. Quarter-sized hail is also possible at this storm. We do have a correlation coefficient reading, at least on the hail itself. We do not have one, though, on the tornado, if there is to be one. Which, over where the rotation is, by the way, there is potentially some hail falling. So this might be a little bit contaminated, but we also could be talking about maybe a possible tornado at some point. But this is a lot of just hail, mostly, right now with this rotation that we're seeing. Not a very impressive looking cell, but again, we are far away from the radar site. Can't stress that enough. I've said that like 20 times, but that's pretty much what we're looking at here near the Rembrandt area. All right. Tornado risk should be super low tomorrow. This is in northwest Iowa, Troy. This is northwest of Des Moines by a pretty large margin. It's probably a good 50 to 100 miles. Yeah, tornado risk tomorrow is pretty low. Unless you're in Kentucky, it's a little bit higher. For Monday, it's very low. I don't really foresee much of a tornado risk on Monday, but it does exist to a very low extent right now. Could change, but that's what the current forecast is. I do want to go back to the tornado warning also just got condensed a little bit. Still going towards Rembrandt and as well as Sioux Rapids. So those are the two areas right now that we're looking at. Stopping back over here to Radar Omega. Again, we do have some fairly strong rotate. It's a little bit broader now on the latest scan. You'll notice this gray in here. It's a little bit broader on that scan. Now the most recent scan still showing some strong rotation here. Again, these are your winds going away from the radar. This is going towards the radar, so we have that counterclockwise spin. Pretty typical for a tornado warning cell. That, though, right there is where we're watching for some stronger rotation. Again, tornado could drop at any time. It's going to be just south there of Rembrandt, moving off to the northeast towards 71. It's actually moving a bit more east now, so Sioux Rapids might be okay. It's going to be dropping. It's going more east right now, so I think Sioux Rapids might just be out of the way of this tornado warning cell. Stay in your safe place if you're on the southern side there, included in the tornado warning, but I do think the storm will miss you just by a little bit. Again, moving off to the east right now, it'll be eventually going towards Albert City and Marathon. So that's, again, really the more concerning feature here. And look at the reflectivity. So we definitely have a hail core. The pink on Radar Omega will be showing you the hail core. So that's a lot of the hail that we're seeing near Rembrandt. Moving off to the, again, the east-northeast. Yeah, this is just kind of perspective real quick. I did want to show, I actually wanted this radar for a particular reason. This is the distance from the radar site. I gotta figure out which tool it is, but this is literally the distance from the radar site. It's about 110 miles. So if we can put that into math perspective, if anybody in the chat is a weather geek and you kind of know about this stuff with the radar angles and stuff, let me know what the distance is and what the actual feet is. I don't know what 110 miles is, but it's probably a pretty good 6,000 to 7,000 feet up that we're looking, is my guess. That is right now where your rotation is. It's going to be moving towards Rembrandt. It's going a little bit more east-northeast now. It's kind of in this direction, but Rembrandt should be in your safe place right now. If you're in Rembrandt, Albert City and Marathon in Iowa should also be getting prepared to get to your safe place. You'll be next in track for this storm. Truesdale, I would keep a very close eye on this storm. We do have a very large hail core brewing as well near the Rembrandt area. This will be moving, again, east. Okay, back over in Illinois, near the Freeport, Thompson, Clinton area, and as well as Stockton. We do have a tornado possible label on this area of storm, so we might see a brief tornado embedded in this line. I'm not seeing anything in particular as of now in terms of strong rotation, but we have a little bit of broad rotation in multiple different areas. It's very broad, very weak, but we could see a potential brief tornado out of this at some point in the next 30 to 45 minutes. But again, that threat remains low at this time. Tornado warning, again, still ongoing north of Storm Lake, Iowa. Again, very rural area out here, but we are still watching that potential for a tornado to drop. Very strong rotation still. It's not like very strong. It's strong. I say very strong sometimes when it's, I mean, it's technically very strong for being, you know, a few thousand feet off the ground, but 580,000 feet. I just don't think so. Let's see if I can find a diagram. I don't know if I'm able to find a diagram here. It's a certain thing you have to search for. I don't always remember, but if anybody figures it out, let me know. We've had a lot more hail than usual this season, but in terms of tornadoes, I think it's been close to average. It's maybe a little bit above average. Probably above average is my guess, but I honestly have not looked since April. Mainly because I was doing some research study on the amount of tornadoes year by year back in April. How about the outflow boundaries in Texas? Those outflow boundaries have been wild recently. We have another one going through western Texas right now, western North Texas. I don't believe it's producing anything too crazy, but yeah, there's still an outflow boundary there. More in central Texas. Here's the latest radar scan south of Rembrandt. So this tornado warning cell has been kind of all over the place. It started going a bit more northeast. It's now going a bit more to the southeast almost now. It's starting to drop down a bit. Where the rotation's located, it's north of Truesdale. We, again, could be potentially looking at some radar contamination. But regardless, I would still make sure you're seeking shelter away from windows lowest floor possible. If you're in the Rembrandt area, if you're in Truesdale and you're watching the stream, I would also probably get to your safe place just in case. There's a good possibility this is just radar contamination, but there's always a chance, again, that there might actually be something a bit more significant than just radar contamination, possibly a little tornado or something like that. But rotation still remains, at this point, to this point at least, a little bit on the stronger side of things. Upper level rotation as well definitely still exists. So, again, we might see a possible tornado. Also for Davenport, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to include areas near Davenport, New Liberty, Ella Ridge, as well as Cordova, DeWitt, Wheatland, and as well as Wilton and Tipton for damaging winds up to 60. And again, another tornado possible label. So we have another chance for maybe a brief tornado. Best chance for that right now will exist right there, just southwest of Bennett. We have a little bit of a little notch trying to develop there. So that's the area near Bennett that I'd be a bit more concerned about for a possible tornado risk. But again, low threat tonight. Will remain low. I did not change radars. One moment. Here's the tornado warning, by the way. They keep condensing it further down to the south and east. It still does include areas in Rembrandt, but if you're in Truesdale, I'd definitely make sure, again, you're a safe place just in case. And in northwest Iowa. Outflow boundaries, a lot of the time, I mean, they do a lot of stuff, I'll be real with you, but when it comes to severe weather, they typically spawn off more storm activity, but outflow boundaries do so many different things, like they can cool down areas, they can bring gusty winds, damaging winds sometimes. There's just so many things that actually outflow boundaries actually do. It's fascinating. Do a lot of stuff in terms of severe weather action. Makes it very interesting. A friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe, like the stream as well, helps get this out to more people. And also click the bell icon down below. We might go live again tomorrow for the severe weather in the Ohio Valley, and as well as parts of the Mississippi Valley as well. So stay tuned for that. New radar scan coming out in just a moment, so we'll see where this possible tornado is going. Again, this is not on the ground from what we know at this point, but it could be on the ground at any time. We do have hail with this as well. We do clearly have a hail core back up near Rembrandt. We have another one near Aurelia, and as well as northwest of Alta, those two areas. So there's definitely still some hail cores embedded with this area of storms right now. And correlation coefficient, again, we're fairly far away from the radar site, so it makes it 10 times harder to be able to figure out if there's actually a tornado happening or not. That's one of the disadvantages from being far away from radar sites. But again, we're currently in northwest Iowa. This is going to be north of Storm Lake. Pretty far northwestern parts of Iowa. There are a couple storms again back over in eastern Iowa and as well as into western Illinois that have tornado possible labels. We are watching those storms closely as well. So there are a few different areas of storms right now that are happening. This one in particular, though, definitely has the strongest rotation out of all of them so far. Well, we will see if the National Weather Service ends up issuing a new tornado warning or not. Be interesting to see, because this storm, again, might have some of that radar contamination from the hail. But either way, be a good thing just to stay in your safe place, just in case. Because, again, we sometimes see that, you know, radar contamination, quote-unquote, but sometimes it's actually not. And, I mean, in this case, it might not be, because the hail is going to be back up into here. There's definitely still some rotation here. Upper levels and mid-levels also rotating with this cell. So, tornado is possible at any time. Albert City, Iowa will be in the next in track for this. That is the rotation right there, and it'll be moving probably due east. Again, this storm's kind of gone a little bit up and down over the last few scans. We've seen rotation as high north as almost like, here, and then it's been as far south as here. So kind of going a little bit all over the place right now, but it's trying to center itself a bit more just in a due east direction towards Albert City. Be riding along 3 for the most part, and then Pocahontas will be next in the track of this later on, but that's a pretty long ways away from now. Yeah, storm itself is not moving very quickly. It's about 30 miles per hour off to the east. So Pocahontas probably a good 45, 60 minutes from now. Siren's going off by Storm Lake. Thank you, Greg, for the heads up on that. Yeah, if you're north of Storm Lake and Truesdale especially, I wouldn't be surprised if those sirens are going off. Definitely not out of the question. Indiana tonight probably will not have a tornado risk, but tomorrow it's a low threat, primarily on the east and southern side of the state. Overnight tonight, the tornado risk should be really low, if not zero. I would have a way to receive alerts, obviously, just in case, weather radar or not weather radar, weather radio, or your phone to help you get some alerts. Make sure you have your silencer off so you're able to hear it if there is any tornado warnings. But the threat should be really low overnight. The short-term threat right now in terms of tornadoes is in parts of Iowa, and it is also back over in eastern Iowa and as well as into western Illinois. That is where we're seeing a low and very, very low tornado risk right now. It's a possibility. It's just, all those storms back out there are definitely in, more of a line of storms. So the storm that we're seeing in northwest Iowa is fairly discreet on its own right now. That's what the reflectivity looks like. We have multiple storms ongoing. Some near Interstate 35, the others of which are near Storm Lake. A little bit more of a low-level jet back up into northwest Iowa is going to help that storm out a little bit. Real quick update back over in eastern Iowa and as well as into western Illinois before we go back to the other storm. Again, we have a little bit of rotation associated with the storm near Bennett. This is a tornado possible storm. It's not much of anything right now, but it could end up becoming maybe a brief tornado sort of situation. So be weather aware here. Just, stay away from windows. That's always a good thing to do. These tornadoes that happen within these lines of storms happen very quick, and they're usually not on the ground very long. And so there's not a whole lot of notice, but there is a chance for maybe an isolated tornado. And anywhere in here really has that chance as well. It's a very low chance. Again, weak velocities, low level jets, much weaker. But I'll just be prepared just in case there's maybe an isolated tornado. Again, it's a low threat at this time, but always good to stay alert. We do have a new tornado warning that's going to be associated with the storm near Rembrandt. This is now going to go into Albert City. So brand new tornado warning until 10:45 Central Time. And this new tornado warning, again, includes Albert City, south of Marathon. We still have some rotation ongoing. It's not the strongest, but there's still some rotation. North of Truesdale, west of Albert City, west of Pocahontas, Iowa. So if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. This once again does include now eastern parts of Buena Vista County in Iowa. Friendly reminder, if you are just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. Again, we'll keep you updated with the latest on these storms tonight and possibly as well tomorrow. We might go live again tomorrow, so stay tuned. All right, this is the latest radar scan as well. So again, rotation's located about 3 or 4 miles to the northeast of Truesdale. We do have a discrete cell, not really discrete, semi-discrete, but we have a semi-discrete cell just west of Truesdale that might be playing a little bit with this other supercell. So we have a supercell behind the tornadic supercell that we have ongoing. So again, this is our area of rotation. This is the main supercell, but since we have a secondary cell behind it that's moving toward the other cell a little bit quicker actually than the current movement of the initial supercell, this supercell might end up catching up to the other supercell. Therefore, there might be some weakening with that rain cool air potentially filtering into that inflow, because we do have an inflow, it looks like. We're fairly far away from the radar site, so some of these things can be hard to pick out. But we do have an inflow going into the storm. This is usually where the tornado would sit. We have a bit of a hook, it looks like, trying to develop there. So that's what we're looking at in terms of this storm right now, in terms of its shape. But since we have that storm behind it, that could end up maybe bring some rain cool air and weakening it down the road. So if you're back over in Pocahontas, that might be some good news. But again, I would still stay alert just in case. The storm does have a chance of producing a tornado. Has had some rotation for quite some time, about a good 20 to 30 minutes now. And again, Albert City will be next in track of this. All right. Go real quickly over to, by the way, the NATO cache just released their tornado outlook for tomorrow. It's not much different from the Storm Prediction Center, but this is tomorrow. Just want to throw that out there real quick. Again, low threat overall across the Ohio Valley. Here's the latest radar scan. So it looks like the rotation might be broadening out here across areas west of Albert City. So good news there. Funnel cloud just reported east of Tipton, Iowa, heading southeast. Funnel cloud forming near Storm Lake and Alta. I have two different reports. I'm not sure if either of them are accurate, excuse me, but I do have a report in southeast Iowa, or in Tipton, Iowa, just southeast of Tipton, and as well as back over in the Alta area. But again, I think those are the grain of salt. Sometimes they're scud clouds as well, but I'm not sure if we have any confirmed reports here yet of a funnel cloud. I'm going to go and check out Twitter as well. Get some information here. If you have any sources to those reports as well, feel free to tweet me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @MaxLossieWX. That does help sometimes, but at least help to try to certify some of these reports. Thank you. All right, so it's about 50. We're basically looking right now at this storm in particular about 5,500 feet up into the atmosphere. What is going on with this radar? For some reason it's doing a live scan, and I don't know why. We do have a new tornado warning for Storm Lake and as well as Truesdale. So if you're in this area, seek shelter immediately away from windows, lowest floor possible. We just had a viewer say that there was a possible funnel cloud in this area, so this might be associated with this brand new tornado warning. We do have a new cell that is developed here as well, so there is a little bit of rotation there, kind of just about southwest of Truesdale. So if you're in this area, again, seek shelter away from windows and at the lowest floor possible. Again, this is the latest on this tornado-warned storm. We now have two different tornado-warned cells here in northwest parts of Iowa. And again, we had another report near Tipton area of a possible funnel cloud. So again, both of which are in Buena Vista County in Iowa. So that's where we're at right now in terms of the two tornado warnings. Yeah, Truesdale wasn't really out of the woods. There was a storm behind it. I mentioned that, but this is definitely a little bit of rotation here. Whether we do actually have any sort of funnel cloud is obviously to be determined, but we did have a report of that, so we have to kind of go with it. And if it is true, I wouldn't be surprised, but the rotation is a little bit weaker on this most recent scan. So it's one thing that we were looking at here. I accidentally activated the live scan. I just turned it off, but this is what we're looking at now. This is the latest radar scan. And again, rotation is a little bit stronger west of Albert City. We still have some rotation definitely here, though, even though it doesn't look very obvious. There is rotation with this cell. And not just that, but there is some hail as well. If we go to the correlation coefficient, we have some hail being indicated on radar, so that could be contaminating a little bit of that, but you'll notice the hail core is primarily going to be focused just to the west of Truesdale. So it's definitely where we definitely have primarily a threat for some large hail with that. But we have two different areas of rotation, again, west of Albert City. One other one just west-southwest of Truesdale. If you're in Truesdale or Storm Lake, I'll get to your safe place now. If you're back near Albert City, you got maybe a minute, but definitely make sure you get there as quick as possible. See you later, Virginia. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, here's the latest radar scan. So again, the rotation that we have west-southwest of Truesdale, moving a bit more to the east, maybe a little bit east-northeast, and then the rotation near Albert City, still moving to the east. So both storms right now having an easterly direction. I would still, if you're on the northern side of Storm Lake there, I would stay in your safe place just in case, but Truesdale especially, get to your safe place now, and then over in Albert City, you've got, again, about a minute or two. Then I'll get there as quick as possible. We have a fairly large hail core on this storm, though, back near Truesdale. $half sized hail is currently the warned threat from the National Weather Service. It could be a little bit larger than that, but again, anywhere between about quarter to ping pong ball sized hail usually comes out of hail cores to this magnitude. Thank you, Greg, for the report. Appreciate it. Yeah, so funnel cloud was spotted from one of our viewers, at least, back near the Storm Lake and Truesdale area to this point. We do have some broad rotation as well back near the Pike County, Illinois area. As of about not even 7 minutes ago, but within the past 5 minutes, we do have some broad rotation. It's not strong rotation, but there is a little bit of rotation there. So if you're in the Pike County area, just stay alert there. There is a little bit of rotation there. might be something to watch out for. But again, if you're in the Truesdale, Alta, and as well as the Storm Lake region, I'll get to your safe place. Again, Truesdale and Alta are the main locations in this tornado warning. And not just that, there is another concern for some maybe wind-driven hail out of this hail core that we have. It is a growing hail core. We could be talking about upwards of golf ball-sized hail going towards Truesdale. Again, moving off to the east, so this is going to be going in an easterly direction. And then Albert City's next in track of another area of rotation just west there of Albert City. And it's, again, moving to the east. This is what the velocities look like on both storms. So stronger rotation again west of Albert City. We still have a little bit maybe embedded in that storm near Truesdale, but it's not anything that's too much standing out at this point. But again, we're looking about 5,000 feet up into the atmosphere. In addition to that, we're very far away from the radar site, so these things do get a little bit stretched out. How long to the tennis balls? I don't think we'll see any tennis ball sized hail tonight. Tomorrow, though, on the other hand, is a better chance. I don't think we've seen any tennis ball-sized hail today. I could be mistaken, though. It's actually been pretty much hail below 2 inches for the most part today. This is not going towards Northern Virginia, no. All right, really quickly, we're going to go down to the east. I just want to check out the rotation back over in eastern Iowa for a brief second as we're in between radar scans. Rotation very minimal across areas in eastern Iowa and as well as western Illinois. We had another storm that was back down near St. Louis. I did have a viewer mentioning there was some rotation here. We're going to check that out for a brief second. Then we'll go back up to the north. And there is still a little bit of rotation, perhaps north of Pleasant Hill. But it doesn't seem to be rotation. I think that might just be more of a little bit of wind at this point. So maybe a little bit, but it's not really in the spot where rotation would be. So it's more of just a hail and wind threat right now north of St. Louis. All right, let's go back up to the tornado warnings. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning in southwest Minnesota. But we're primarily going to focus on these 2 tornado warnings here up in northwest Iowa. So this is the latest radar scan that just came in. Again, rotation still exists west of Albert City, but it is weak, and it has broadened a bit. The other storm as well near Truesdale has been broad for the last few scans. Could we see maybe a brief tornado? It's possible, but the threat of an actual tornado being on the ground for a long duration of time is extremely low tonight. It would just be something that's pretty quick and brief. And these are now both storms that are connected to each other. So it's basically semi-discrete supercells that we have up here in northwest Iowa. Now, if they become kind of conjoined here and maybe combine themselves with the cores, kind of combining a bit more over the next 30 minutes, we could see an increased tornado risk in one part of the storm, but that process takes a while and it might not even happen. So we'll see if that process happens, but I kind of doubt it at this point. The setup that we have up here in northwest Iowa. There's enough of a low-level jet, though, for possibly a brief tornado or two with one of these cells. Massive hail core, though, that's without a doubt. We definitely have a lot of hail falling near Truesdale. Correlation coefficient is picking up on that hail as well. So there's some hail falling. Maybe a little bit of hail as well near Albert City, but I definitely think there's at least more hail falling in the Truesdale area. Whether that's actually very large hail, it's probably not very large hail, but at this point, it's somewhere in the realm of nickel size to maybe up to golf ball size. So it's a pretty large range, but it legitimately could be either of those threats. But we don't have any reports at this point in terms of hail with this storm yet, but it is presumably dropping at least some hail. And this is the latest radar scan now, and again, west of Albert City, that's where really the greatest area of rotation has been this entire time, and then near Truesdale, it's a bit broader. Both of which, again, moving off to the east. Storm in Illinois as well. I'm pretty sure it's the one north of St. Louis. That one is now producing damaging winds up to 70, reportedly. Not entirely sure if that's accurate. Oh, yeah, that is actually. No, this is actually going to be northwest of Davenport, or in the Davenport area. If you're in the Davenport area in Illinois, just eastern Iowa, western Illinois there near Davenport, there is currently now damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. So there may have been a report or a confirmation there within the last few minutes of some high winds upwards of 70 miles per hour. So if you're in those areas near Davenport, be prepared. Damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour would be a good idea to get away from windows. We'll be hopping over to that storm in a few minutes if this rotation continues to remain at a low extent. But we'll see if anything kind of transpires. So far, it's been on the lower side of things with this rotation over the last few minutes. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest details on all the severe weather that we have happening, not just tonight, but as well as tomorrow. Might have a video or a brief live stream in the morning, so subscribe, click the bell icon, and also make sure to like the stream. It does help get this out to more people. Again, we do have rotation located just west of Albert City and also near Truesdale both of which, again, are broad at this time, and they're also fairly weak. So if there is a tornado, it will probably be brief and weak. Same thing, by the way, with the storms over near Davenport. If a tornado does happen, it would be brief. It would also be weak. All right, here's the latest radar scan. Again, I'm losing a lot of, basically at this point, the storm near Truesdale, it's lost a lot of its rotation. That's like the easiest way to put it. I don't think this one's going to produce a tornado at this point. Maybe some gusty winds, maybe some hail as well. This is more of a hailstorm, though, at this point near Truesdale. The one near Albert City just has enough rotation to perhaps maybe produce a brief tornado. But at this current time, this is the storm, or this is the base velocities, and you'll notice these are winds going away from the radar. That's going towards the radar. We do have some spin, but it's very broad. And at this current time, I'm not very confident that we're going to see a tornado out of either of these storms at this point, at least in the near term. Could something develop down the road? It's possible, but for this current time, the rotation is definitely broader here. You'll notice, again, that's your area of rotation, which there's a lot of gray in between. And when we see that gray, that overall means broader rotation. And so for near Albert City at this current time, that's what we're looking at in terms of that. But we still have some pretty strong storms here. Some hail is definitely not out of the question. Maybe up to $half ping pong ball sized hail. Maybe a brief tornado sometime in the next 15 to 20 minutes, but threat should remain low here. We're going to stay on these storms for a couple more minutes, see if there's anything new. If not, we'll start to go back down near Davenport, because we do have a damaging wind threat of 70 miles per hour approaching quite quickly. So we'll be going to that here in just a moment. Leo, I'm going to keep I'm just going to keep it real with you. I've had at least 15 dreams when I was a child of a tornado ripping right through my neighborhood. It never happened. Just gonna throw that out there. People have dreams all the time. I've had those dreams. I'm not kidding. This is a real story. I've actually had like at least 10 to 15 dreams when I was like maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe up to about 12 years old, of a tornado literally ripping through my town. It's a real thing. It's, you know, it's something that you actually sometimes dream of, believe it or not. And it's very scary, but I can just tell you right now, as long as you have a tornado action plan in place tomorrow, you'll be good. Just make sure you act safely tomorrow if there's any tornado warnings. But the tornado threat tomorrow is very low. So I've had those dreams before. Trust me, you're not the only one. Just because you dream of something doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen. Just like winning the lottery. You think you dream of winning the lottery and it never happens. Sometimes. Not saying that I've had that dream. I'm just saying. That's impressive, Greg. Next time that happens, by the way, you should definitely call the National Weather Service office, your local one. So in this case, it's back near Des Moines. Call them and actually report it to them. They have a phone number on Google you can just look up. It actually will help with any sort of doubt, if they have any doubt on any of these rotating cells. I've done it before. Just call the National Weather Service there for your specific area and tell them there's a fallen cloud that I see outside or whatever. And yeah, those reports always help them out. You can tell me as well, but obviously it's better to tell them first. It gets the warning out to a larger span of people in comparison to me, which I'm obviously broadcasting it to over 1,100 people, but that's not going to be the whole town of Truesdale or Storm Lake. A lot of those people rely on their phone and whatnot. From Priscilla. All right, let's go down to Davenport. I know we have a lot of concern there. A lot of people live in the Davenport area. We do have a damaging wind threat that is now increasing in the Davenport area. This storm is up to 70 miles per hour. We are going to check out the radar now. Again, this is not a tornado warning. This is a different storm. But this is what we're looking at here near the Davenport area. And we definitely have some high winds embedded in this. So going towards Eldridge right now and near Davenport, some high winds. And actually, look at this right here. We do have rotation near the Maysville area. There is rotation right now moving towards the Maysville, area. It's broad. It's not tight by any means, but there is rotation there. So I would just, get to your safe place away from windows, lowest floor possible. If you're in this area, I believe the radar is a little bit delayed here, but there's rotation there. So we could see a potential brief tornado pop out of one of these storms. That's why there is a tornado possible label on this. Damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour is possible. Damaging winds is definitely going to be associated, though, in this entire area here. It's going to be crashing down towards Davenport, and as well as going through Clinton in the next few minutes. So if you're in this area, again, make sure you're getting away from windows as these storms do pass. A brief tornado risk does exist, but usually those tornadoes are brief and weak. We're next to a radar site, which helps a lot with this sort of stuff. If you want to donate, there's a link in the description if you're having trouble with that. You can also super chat. But again, none of that's required. I know somebody was asking. So. All right, let's roll quickly. We're going to go back to the other storms for a brief second, and then we're going to go back to Davenport. I'm just going to double check to see if these storms have kind of weakened in rotation. If they have, we're going to start transitioning back over to Davenport. Rotation, again, much weaker near Albert City. It is still existent, actually. It's a little bit stronger than before, northeast of Storm Lake. So we'll watch those storms closely, but both of them have broad rotation. But we're going to go back down to Davenport, because Davenport here near Eldridge, as well as DeWitt, have higher wind speeds currently located in these areas. We're going to go to this label, and we're going to go back to here for this storm. But yeah, these storms in particular, again, producing damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour near the Davenport, Coal Valley, and Eldridge area. So pretty nasty looking line of storms here. I mean, look at this entire cluster here. Very well-defined area of storms going through Dixon and Walcott, and it'll eventually go towards Eldridge, Interstate 280 and Interstate 80 in the track of this over the next few minutes. And now we do have a tornado warning. So I kind of thought this might happen. We do have a tornado warning now for the Maysville as well as Eldridge area. And it looks to be the rotation that I was mentioning a second ago is now located over near Interstate 80. So if you're in the Davenport area, again, brand new tornado warning. Seek shelter immediately, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and an interior room of your home or building. This is now just north of Davenport, near the Maysville, I keep saying Mayville, Maysville area, and as well as near Eldridge. And a possibility for a brief tornado with this storm. This is the rotation here near Interstate 80. It is actually going towards the radar site, so we're going to lose it a little bit probably near that radar site. Again, moving off to the east. Thanks, Jaws, for the $5 donation. Should be good for 2-liter root beer. Yeah, I don't actually drink root beer, but I do appreciate it. Appreciate it as always. Yeah, this is the rotation at Interstate 80. Again, moving off to the east, this is where, if you're in Eldridge, again, if you're in Walcott, seek shelter. Walcott should be all right from this tornadic activity. But if you're over in LeClaire, Princeton, Hampton, north of Davenport, and in the Eldridge area, you need to seek shelter right now. Again, the rotation is going to be located right about here. I'm trying to get the full screen on here so you can see all the towns out in front. This is the area here. All right, I drink like 1 root beer every 5 weeks. I'll just say that. This is also for Scott County in Iowa, just an FYI. For those that are wondering about counties, again, this is far eastern Iowa, north of Davenport, where this tornado warning is. Where I have circled right now is where the rotation's located. It was a bit stronger a scan ago, but we are very close to the radar site. Things can kind of get a little bit twisted in here when we're super close to the radar site, so it might be a little bit difficult to see. We'll have one more radar scan, I believe, until this does actually go over the radar site. So hopefully there's no tornado here, but the concern is if there's a tornado, it could potentially, do some damage to the radar site, but we'll see what happens here. At this current time, though, no evident tornado yet. And this is radar indicated rotation. All right, let's see. All right, new radar scan just came in. We're going to go ahead and get that. So this is the rotation now in the latest radar scan. Again, it does not look overly impressive here, but again, we're very close to the radar site. These are your winds going away from the radar. That's towards the radar. Typical counterclockwise spin with a tornado. Again, this is not confirmed on the ground. This is radar indicated, so there could be a tornado at some point in the next few minutes. There also might just not be a tornado in the next few minutes. But you'll notice with the reflectivity here, we have this entire line of storms, but look at this little hook in here. So we have a hook that actually is relevant here on the supercell, or not supercell, but in this like line of storms here. So just west of the radar site, and then your inflow going into the storm. So we have everything that's needed here for an organized tornado risk embedded in this line. And then the tornado itself would be located right about here. So that's just a hair to the north of Interstate 80. North, again, of Davenport, just southwest of Eldridge. If you're in Eldridge, you should get to your safe place immediately. Even though a tornado in this environment would probably be brief and weak, it's always a good thing to get to your safe place because damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour are also likely, and the tornado itself could potentially send some debris flying. Now, again, we're not probably looking at a strong tornado here, but we are looking at the threat for perhaps a brief and maybe a weak tornado as well along with that. But as of this current time, again, the rotation's located about not even a half a mile, I'd say, north there of Interstate 80. That's your area of rotation right now. Moving again off to the east. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. We're going to try to get everything in the warning here again, so you guys can all see it. There we go. So, again, that's your rotation. Moving due east right now towards the radar site. That's a good question, by the way. I do not have any live cams tonight, and I do not have any sort of storm chasers. Storm chaser Vince chased earlier today. I'm obviously doing a bit more of a night stream here, so we do not have any storm chasers out here. We usually do with Vince, but we do not tonight. I'm going to see, though, if we have any live cams near the Davenport area. Anything that I can find. But if we're not able to find anything, then we'll probably not get very good view here. All right, we do have a new radar update. I'm going to get to it like ASAP. This is what it looks like here on the latest radar scan. So your rotation, it's actually, I mean, it's not, again, it's not tight and confined, definite tornado, but we have strong rotation here, just a little bit to the north of Interstate 80. So that's going to be going over the radar site on this next scan. So we're going to lose it probably, but we will get it back probably just after that. So this is our rotation. This is what the supercell looks like here against a line of storms, but we have a pretty clean hook. Inflow going into the storm. We got that spin on going just north of Interstate 80, south of Eldridge. And again, it'll be going, this is going to stay north of Davenport. If you're in Davenport, I'm watching more for the damaging wind threat of 70 miles per hour, but there is a chance of maybe a threat for, you know, just damaging winds. I don't think there'll be a tornado, though, anywhere near Davenport. The tornado risk at this point is embedded in this little area. Again, a pretty clean hook here, and then that's your inflow with this cluster of storms that's right now rolling through the north of Davenport area here in eastern Iowa. That's what we're currently looking at here. Yeah, we don't really have any good live cams here, unfortunately. I'm not seeing any, at least. Also going to check out Twitter here and see if we have any reports coming in on here. And tornado warning does include Maysville, Eldridge, Princeton, LeClaire, and Panorama Park. I don't know how to say that, but that's over in Iowa. Again, this includes a population of 100,000. It does not include Davenport, though. So Davenport, you're not in this tornado warning. But I would still stay alert if you're in Davenport, because damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour still remains likely. But this is where our tornado is currently, or not tornado, but possible tornado would be located. It's going to be just north of Interstate 80. It should be located now, as of what I'm speaking. It's probably over the radar site at this point. But we do not have that yet. The radar scan has just come in. So the rotation is now over the radar site. So we have lost view pretty much entirely of it. Yeah, this is not the most recent radar scan I'm looking at here on the velocities, but the rotation itself is going to be located in the basically like cross section here of Interstate 80 and Interstate 61, or Interstate 80 and Route 61. So kind of in that little area there. This is again as of 10:36. So that was about 3 minutes ago. Rotation now is going to be located probably right here. And since we have a pretty clean view of this, we'll zoom in a little bit. This is going to be near the, again, 61 and Interstate 80. That's where the rotation is going to be located at this current time as I'm talking. Again, the radar scan that we're looking at is as of 3 minutes ago. The reflectivity has updated, though, on the most recent scan. It's about 10:38. So that's within the past minute. By the way, if you have any photos or videos, you can tweet me on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. You can also join our Discord server. Those links are in the description below. If you have any photos or videos of these storms. But again, if you're taking any photos or videos of yourself, please stay away from windows and take them safely. Do not try to go outside or anything like that. Again, this is a highly electrified storm with a lot of lightning. And again, has the potential for maybe a tornado here in the next few minutes. In addition to that, we are looking at some pretty significant damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour across this entire area here, especially across areas near the Walcott, Eldridge, and Davenport area within the next 15 minutes. McCausland as well, and DeWitt and Longgrove are also going to be in the track of that threat within the next few minutes. So you definitely want to make sure, again, if you're in these areas, stay away from windows, lowest floor possible. Even if you're not in the tornado warning, it's always a good idea to do so, because we do have high winds that could potentially blow down trees on your home and stuff like that. Happens a lot, especially down in the southeast United States when we see severe weather, because there are just so many trees. So if you have a tree near your home, that's definitely a concern as well. But it's always a good safety precaution, especially with a storm like this. Yeah, the high winds really are focused across areas from about Interstate 280 back through DeWitt, this entire area here. The brighter colors will indicate the highest wind speed, so we definitely have a little patch there. You're 61 north of Long Grove of the highest wind speeds right now. Again, rotation is currently located over the radar site, so we do not have a view of it. Literally, it is right here somewhere. So, yeah, it's, again, unviewable at this current time. But we'll have a view on it in about a minute or so. That's where the rotation's located. It's pretty much in the dead center of that radar site. What we call a radar hole. West of Davenport, any radar indications are tornado indications, excuse me. If you're in the Davenport area, I am again more concerned about the damaging wind threat, not as much about the tornado risk right now. But I would still treat it as if it's a tornado warning, because damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour can almost act like a tornado in some instances. I mean, it can blow down trees onto homes and stuff like that, especially when we get strong downburst winds. That's definitely a concern if you're in the Davenport area. But again, the rotation itself is far to your north, and we don't really have anything behind it right now that's indicative of a tornado. And you might notice there's some like red and green kind of mixing a little bit there, but that's really not any rotation here. It's just kind of a little bit of the winds at this point near Davenport. It's definitely winds. This in particular, though, I mean, we have a very, very clean hook. And again, we have an inflow going to the storm. Again, it's kind of hard to point that out since the tornadic activity itself is literally in the radar hole. It's going to be there for another minute or so, and then we'll have a better view of it in a minute. But that is where a tornado would be located. Did I see your retweets? If you have to tweet me on Twitter. I'm not going to be able to see your tweets unless you like mention me or something. So again, if you have any photos or videos, feel free to @ me on Twitter, or send it to me directly on Twitter. It's at MaxVelocityWX. Link is in the description. If you're retweeting it on your own account, I will not be able to see it. And we're gonna have probably another minute until we get the view of the rotation. Again, the rotation itself is literally over this radar site, but we do have a better view now of the inflow going into the storm in your hook. The rotation's probably located right about there north of Interstate 80. And my guess is in the next radar scan, we'll have a better idea if this is actually still rotating strongly enough to potentially produce a tornado or not. Because right now we're kind of in a little bit of a standstill with the radar site here, kind of interacting with it. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon as well. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest on the severe weather tonight and tomorrow. Also, liking the stream does help get this out to more people that are in the path of these storms. So if you want to help try to get this out to more people, definitely feel free to hit the like button. Again, this is north of Davenport. And again, we're in eastern Iowa. So near Princeton and LeClaire are the next town/cities in the track of this tornado-warned cell. Again, this is radar indicated rotation. At this current time, we do not have any confirmation of any sort of tornado. I'm going to check and see, though, if we have any reports out of this yet. I don't think we have any, but I'm going to check and see. But again, if you're in this tornado warning right now, you need to seek shelter underground or in an interior room, away from windows, lowest floor possible. If you don't have a room without windows, an interior room like a bathroom or a closet is always a good idea. Yeah, make sure you are seeking shelter. At this current time, I do not see any reports out of the Eldridge area. Again, LeClaire and Princeton, Iowa are the next in track, and then this will eventually cross into Illinois. So Western Illinois will next be in the track of this Northwest Illinois. This is north of Davenport, pretty populated area. Again, 100,000 people in this particular warning here. All right, next radar scan in about a minute. And that should be when we get our next little look at the rotation. We've been without really any looks for about a good 5, maybe 6 minutes now. We do have a new radar scan that just came in. So again, rotation's likely located right about here. Inflow going to the storm. Again, your little hook here, that's going to be pretty defined here on this little cluster of storms. Here's the velocities. We have a little bit better of a view of it. And I'm seeing looks to be a bit more of a wind concern, but this is not updated yet. So give me one moment. Our velocity radar is not updated quite yet. This is probably gonna be our best view of it here. Let's refresh this. So it's north of Interstate 80. Again, that's where the rotation is. Rotation's likely located right about here as I'm speaking. Getting that right now. And we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued out in front of this. That's also something to keep in mind. And the new severe thunderstorm warning is going to be issued for parts of northwest Illinois. So Morrison, Sterling, and east of LeClaire and east of Clinton are now in a new severe thunderstorm warning. All right, the radar's glitching out a little bit here. All right, here we go. So north of Interstate 80. Again, this is where we again have rotation located about 2 to maybe 3 miles southeast of Eldridge. And then this is the velocities, which are kind of getting glitched on the radar. Let me just refresh this really quickly. Again, this is north of Davenport. That is where we're currently seeing rotation. Seek shelter immediately away from windows, lowest floor possible. If you're in LeClaire or Princeton, I do apologize. This thing crashes at like the worst times possible. Oh my lord, I am struggling to get this back open. There we go. All right. Back to that tornado warning. Have a better view of it here. So the rotation now is located kind of where I presumably said before. It's gonna be west of Princeton and again west of LeClaire. That is your rotation. Again, it's not super tight, confined, or strong here, but it is strong enough to the point where it could produce a tornado in between radar scans here. So that's the rotation there. It's about 2, maybe 3 miles now to the east southeast of Eldridge, and this is what it looks like on the radar. So again, we have a fairly clean hook here, clean inflow going into the storm, and that is where the rotation's located. It's probably about 6 to 7 miles now just to the west of Princeton and LeClaire. So if you're in Princeton or LeClaire, you got about a minute, but I'll get to your safe place within like now if you're able to. If it's an emergency, you got about a minute or two, but you really should get to your safe place now. Regardless of there being a tornado, we still have a very high likelihood that we're going to see damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour, especially from about Davenport back through McCausland. So if you're in those areas, again, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. If you're in this area and you have any reports, if you're hearing anything, feel free to let me know in the chat. We'll try to piece some stuff together here, but stay away from windows. And if you're reporting anything, make sure to do it safely. I'm guessing there's definitely going to be some power outages in this area. That's your rotation circled right now. We're going to go to the reflectivity. Again, Davenport is currently clear from any tornado risk. You are looking at damaging winds, though, upwards of 70. You're in Princeton and LeClaire, you are not clear from a tornado risk. You are in the path right now of this tornado warning cell. There is possibly a wall cloud as well with this storm. Not seeing any pictures of that right now, but there is a report of it. There is a possible wall cloud from a person in this area. So again, not confirmed, but it is a report. And reports are not always confirmed. They're just kind of sometimes rumors to an extent. At this current time, we don't have any clear evidence of that. No photos. I'll keep you posted. And rotation's located at about 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 miles now, east-southeast of Eldridge. The tornado warning has been condensed as well. So mainly Princeton and LeClaire are in the path of this. That's where that tornado warning is currently going to. We definitely have high winds, so you'll notice all that high wind area just to the south here of the rotation. Rotation now is going to be located right about here. Again, it's not super strong, tight and confined, but if we do see a tornado, could drop at any time. Still have an inflow going into the storm. We do have a hook as well, so that could produce, again, a possible tornado at some point in the next few minutes. Seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. By the way, if you have any questions about the severe weather for tomorrow, feel free to go back to the very beginning of the stream. The first 30 minutes was a full forecast on tomorrow. That was actually the initial purpose of the stream, but we've had very active weather kind of appear here, not really out of nowhere, but we've had a little bit more of tornadic action than what was expected over the past couple hours here. The tornado warnings, by the way, in northwest Iowa have both expired, so we're at 1 tornado warning currently. And in addition to that, we do have a good dozen almost severe thunderstorm warnings still. So there's definitely still some severe weather activity elsewhere, but we're definitely focusing primarily on this tornado warning. Rotation still exists. It's approaching Princeton pretty quickly, so if you're in the Princeton area, again, make sure that you are staying away from windows now, lowest floor possible. You should get to your safe place now. This is what the storm looks like on the reflectivity. And yeah, again, it's really just this, like, it's not like I would say it's a small line of storms. That's what we're looking at here. It's a small line that extends from DeWitt back through about Davenport. Damaging winds, again, the main concern here. We definitely have some high wind potential. There might be a brief tornado, though, in that little hook that developed back down west of LeClaire. That's really the main concerns right now for the storm. We'll have a new radar scan coming in a moment. Out in front of this, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning as well for Morrison, Sterling, or east of LeClaire, and as well as Clinton. Also, there is now a confirmed report over the radar site there. There was a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust that has just been confirmed, so just keep that in mind. We do now have that new report that has just come in out of the Eldridge area. I do have to fix this face cam real quick. Again, this is going to include Eldridge, LeClaire, and Princeton. But 70-mile-per-hour wind gust was just confirmed there. That was associated most likely with the damaging wind potential out of this line. It's unlikely it was a tornado, because tornadoes usually don't produce those low winds. But even then, it was probably just damaging winds. We do have a pretty extensive damaging wind threat here in this line. Panorama Park. If you're in that area as well, I'm trying to say that name. I might be mispronouncing it, but if you're in that area as well, you need to be in your safe place now. That is also included in this tornado warning. North of Davenport. All right, let's go to the velocities again, and we'll check out to see if there's a whole lot of rotation left here. There's still a little bit of rotation, but it is weakening. You'll notice on the reflectivity itself, it is more of an elongated line of storms now. I'm not seeing that hook shape that we had for the last about 20 minutes. I'm definitely seeing more just a damaging wind threat here moving off to the east. So we could see still a brief tornado, but it seems like that threat is starting to diminish now because that hook shape is just gone. We don't really have a clean inflow anymore. We don't have the same shape here as what we had a few moments ago. So it looks to be, again, more of a damaging wind threat. I would still stay in your safe place. Again, if you're anywhere in the severe thunderstorm warning as well, I would still treat this as if it is a tornado warning, because we could see, again, some high winds upwards of about 70 miles per hour. We just had a confirmed report of damaging winds of around 70 just north of Interstate 80, south of Eldridge, near the Davenport I don't know how to say that either, but that's in Scott County, Iowa, so in the Davenport area, again, just south of Eldridge. That is where we just had a report there of a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust. Yes, Eclipse, I've seen a couple of them, thank you. Again, friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest details on tonight's severe weather and as well as tomorrow. We might do a live stream as well tomorrow, so stay tuned on that. Again, we are currently covering an active tornado warning in eastern Iowa. This is going to be north of Davenport near Princeton and LeClaire. We're in this area. Again, seek shelter away from windows lowest floor possible. The tornado warning goes until 11:15. I'm assuming it's going to probably be canceled around 11 or so, because this storm will be into Illinois by about 11, if not even maybe a little bit before that. The storm itself is going to be crossing over Princeton and LeClaire within the next 3 minutes, and it will be going towards Hillsdale and eventually going possibly towards Sheffield in the next 30 to 45 minutes. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning as well that has now just been issued on this storm. This is going to be an extension, so my assumption here is that the tornado warning will be let to expire or potentially be canceled, which means there will probably not be an extension to the tornado warning. We are probably just going to see these two severe thunderstorm warnings here. Damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour is possible from Davenport and LeClaire back through Hoopool, as well as going towards Sheffield and near Walnut, Illinois. So again, this is making that transition here from Iowa back over to Illinois. Mainly it's a damaging wind threat around 70 miles per hour, but do notice, again, there is still a tornado possible label here. So we could see a brief tornado embedded in this line of storms at some point as these storms cross over to the east. So make sure you are still staying aware that there might be a brief tornado. Again, if there is any tornado activity tonight, it's going to be weak. That's kind of the environment that we're in. So I'm not concerned about a strong, long-lived tornado, but we could see, again, a brief tornado. But that's the latest here on the latest warning here from the National Weather Service. It does seem like as if right now the rotation is very well weakened out. We are really just looking at a damaging wind threat. It could actually be quite high here, possibly around 70 miles per hour right now in Hampton. And I'm actually going to go and pull up the Radar Omega app. You might get a better idea here of the wind speeds. Here near Davenport. We're going to pop over to that real quick. A little bit better of a view of it. So again, tornado warning ongoing still for the next 15 minutes, unless it's otherwise canceled. But I'm going to just check out the velocities here really quickly. And this one's estimated on radar right now. It's about 70, perhaps maybe even upwards of maybe 80 miles per hour near Hampton. So this storm in particular is producing some very high winds. Going again towards areas like Osborne, Cleveland, Carbon Cliff, Dayton, and Kelowna. And it'll, again, continue to move off to the east-southeast, producing the potential for damaging winds upwards of maybe 70 to 80 miles per hour. But the radar scans right now near Hampton are estimating velocities as high as 70 miles per hour. So definitely concerning, to say the least, going through Hampton. And perhaps maybe a little bit of high winds as well back just west of Princeton. So if you're in Princeton or Clare, you are probably going to be seeing damaging winds within the next minute, if not even maybe sooner. That's what the storms look like now. Again, a pretty large area of blown up storms here that are producing high winds. Jacob, what time is it? Probably not. We'll see. Never know. If you have any reports, by the way, feel free to let me know. Again, make sure if you're getting any reports, you're taking them safely. Do not go towards windows. Don't go outside, all that sort of stuff. But if you're hearing anything, seeing anything, let me know. Always helps out in the chat. And if you have any reports that are like damaging wind related or very large hail related or even a potential funnel cloud or something like that, always relay that to the National Weather Service. Call your local office. It's always a good thing to do for those sorts of reports. The tornado warning still does continue at least for the next few minutes. All right. Yeah, if you have any family or friends or family in this area, by the way, you should probably contact them. Just make sure they're doing all right. I know it's 11 o'clock. Some people might have already gone to sleep, but obviously this is probably waking up a lot of people this evening. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely talking about some high winds. The high wind threat has already crossed through Davenport. We are now seeing that damaging wind threat starting to increase now, going into Cleveland, Coal Valley, and Orion, and eventually going towards Atkinson and Mineral, and eventually towards Sheffield. Real quickly, looks like we actually have a little bit of rotation. Not much, but there's like a little bit of rotation. It's more of a wind threat, I would say, near Davenport right now. Not really much of a area of rotation, but there's definitely some wind coming through Davenport again. Another little gusty wind patch there. But really not a spot where we would probably see a tornado at this point. It's not really associated with any solid structured storms, but it's definitely more of just a wind threat right now. We're gonna stay on the radar. I keep going back and forth. Here's the radar. Also, by the way, just kind of a friendly reminder here, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch until 2 a.m. It does include areas north of St. Louis, goes through northeast Missouri, much of western Illinois, and as well as eastern Iowa. And we also have another severe thunderstorm watch that was issued until 3 a.m. For northern Iowa and southern Minnesota. Damaging winds up to 70, as well as potential for hail up to 2 inches, and maybe a couple of tornadoes possible tonight. But again, that tornado risk should stay low. Windy in LeClaire. Thank you for the report. Definitely presume it's probably pretty windy there. Any chance we'll take a look at what's going down in Illinois by St. Louis? Yeah, we'll check in on it in a second. I'm just kind of waiting to see if this tornado warning... I'm guessing it's just going to get lifted. I mean, we don't really have any rotation left here. It's definitely more of a wind threat. You'll notice all these brighter reds, again, are indicating damaging wind potential, probably between at least 55 to 70 miles per hour. LeClaire and Hampton in particular are seeing the highest batch of these winds, as well as near East Moline. And this, again, will continue to march to the east. Hillsdale, Erie, Cleveland, all in the path of this within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So definitely, again, make sure that you are staying away from windows as this continues to march out to the east with a pretty aggressive line of storms for 11 o'clock at night. Real quickly, north of St. Louis, I do want to kind of touch on this storm for just a moment. This is a storm that is weakening for the most part. It was producing 2-inch hail at one point. It's down to 1-inch hail. And also, it has produced the threat for upwards of damaging winds around 60 miles per hour for the most part. We do have maybe a little bit of rotation possibly trying to develop here near the Campsville area. So we're going to keep a close eye on this. But there might just be a little bit of rotation trying to develop. But there's an outflow boundary as well. The storm itself actually just got upgraded to $half sized hail. But there's an outflow boundary. It's kind of reminiscent there. So maybe a brief tornado out of this one as well. It is a discrete cell. It's moving down to the southeast. It's not going to probably impact St. Louis to any major extent, but it might bring a little bit of lightning, maybe some thunder there. Severe weather unlikely. But we're going to keep a close eye on that one as well. Moline, thank you. Okay, if I mispronounce anything, I do apologize, but we'll try to get through with it. Occasionally happens. But yeah, the tornado warning should be getting canceled here for LeClaire and Princeton, is my guess. But we will see. And nothing new in terms of reports out of these storms. We have had no confirmed tornadoes. I've mentioned this a few times. This was never a confirmed tornado, but we did have some rotation. Maybe a wall cloud. That's the only thing I saw about it. But at this point, we've had no other reports about this. Obviously, high winds has been the biggest concern with this area of storms, especially for LeClaire and Princeton. We just saw some high winds go through there. Hampton actually seemingly had some high winds, estimated by radar. The highest wind gust that we've had confirmed so far by an actual observation was 70 miles per hour by the ASOS over in Davenport, so near the Eldridge area. That's the highest wind gust so far. We are still witnessing some high winds going through LeClaire and Princeton, especially going to be across areas near Silvis and as well as LeClaire. That's where we're definitely looking at the highest wind speeds right now. There's still a potential that we see a tornado try to develop in this little area. We do have some little, it's not really rotating, but that's like the little area that we're still watching. That is what originally produced that tornado risk, but at this current time, it does seem as if that's kind of transitioning into more just a damaging wind threat, but it might try to go back to maybe a brief tornado risk near Hillsdale or Tampico. Those are the two areas that will be in the track of this in northwest Illinois. So that's going to be the next concern here over the next little while. All right. Tornado warning is probably about to expire. We're going to go back to tornado possible. We might have actually just gotten a warning. Let me just double check here. I have radar Omega in the background. All right, we do have a new tornado warning for Davenport. Never mind, we're going right back to it. We do have a new tornado warning for Davenport. If you're in Davenport, seek shelter immediately, away from windows, lowest floor possible, interior room of your home or building. Again, brand new tornado warning for Davenport. So again, seek shelter if you're in Davenport. Strong rotation is actually about to move overhead. We were watching this actually about 10 minutes ago. Didn't look too concerning, but this is now a tornado-warned cell with strengthening rotation basically over Davenport. So if you're in Davenport, Iowa, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible. This is likely going to be rain-wrapped, so you should definitely seek shelter. Don't try to look outside for this one, since it is likely going to be a rain-wrapped area of rotation. This also includes Moline as well as Carbon Cliff. So those areas will also be in the track of this tornado-warned cell. Again, strong rotation over Davenport. We do not have any, again, confirmed tornado at this point, but we could see one at any time as this moves off to the east. I'm glad I have radar Omega in the background, because that does really help a lot with the sound effect. But again, this is what we're currently looking at near Davenport. We do have an ongoing area of rotation just to the west of Davenport. It's going to be over Davenport here within the next minute, though. We also have a brand new tornado warning in northwest Iowa. This is going to include areas like Pocahontas, Gilmore City, as well as Bradgate and Rolfe. We'll be going to that one at some point soon, but for right now, we're going to stay on the tornado warning over Davenport. This one also includes Riverdale, East Moline, and Kelowna. Those are the areas included. Again, rotation is now located pretty much over Davenport here. So, again, if you're in Davenport, Iowa, as well as going towards Riverdale and Moline, you need to get to your safe place immediately. Some strong rotation is starting to brew a little bit here. That's your rotation. Again, moving off to the east. It is going to be a rain-wrapped area of rotation. This is what it looks like on the reflectivity. A lot of rain around it, which rain-wrap basically means that if there is a tornado, it is not visible usually by the naked eye, especially since there's going to be a lot of rain around it. Unless you're on like the northwest side, you might have a chance to see it. But again, if you're anywhere in this area, don't try to look outside. Just seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. I'm actually going to zoom in on this for right now. We're going to stay zoomed in on the Davenport area. And that is the rotation. It's going to be about really within about a mile of the downtown area there of Davenport. Moving off to the east. Moline? Is it Moline? I thought I said it right the other time. Never mind. All right, it's Moline. Thank you. Moline? I've seen a lot of different pronunciations. Whichever one it is, I'm trying my best here with pronunciations. I do not live in this area, but if you're in the Moline area, again, make sure you're seeking shelter within the next minute or two. Davenport is where the rotation is currently located. It's moving about east, maybe a little bit east-northeast, so Riverdale as well will be in the track of this in the next few minutes. Interstate 74 also in the track of this. If you're a truck driver on Interstate 74, I would pull over just in case in between Moline and as well as Interstate 80, in between those two areas there. I'm getting reports of the winds are awful, which is really not surprising. Winds have been very strong to this point. Here's the latest radar scans. So on the latest scan, We've lost a lot of the rotation, which is good news. Really a lot of it, actually. Rotation's weakened quite substantially in between radar scans. Let's go to the latest radar scan here. So in between Davenport and Moline, we now have a blue radar, which is interesting. But this is what we're looking on the velocity. So weaker rotation overall here near the Davenport area. Let's just hop over to radar Omega. We're going to kind of transition here just to get a better view of it. But that's where our rotation is. It's going to be now just northeast of Davenport. That is your rotation. It is weaker, and it's also broader, so that's good news. So yeah, definitely some weaker rotation here on the northeast side of Davenport. That's where the rotation is currently located. Still stay in your safe place. It could re-strengthen. It could recycle, especially if you're in Moline as well as Riverdale. Those two areas will be in the track of this storm in the next 5 minutes, and damaging winds definitely not out of the question with this storm. The tornado warning does go until 11:45, but obviously it will be condensed over the next little while. Definitely stay on the storm for now. Rotation could also just re-strengthen the next scan. It's, again, not out of the question. Some of these storms, they really come in and out, so. The first tornado warning off to the north, if you're talking about that one, that was originally for rotation that happened a while ago. That tornado warning should expire in 8 minutes. I thought it would get canceled, but I don't think it has. So, at this current time, it is not a warning that has been canceled, but it really should be. I mean, there's not really any rotation up there right now. It's primarily for the storm near Davenport right now with the rotation. That's where the rotation is. It's going to be moving again off to the east, maybe east-northeast towards Riverdale. Moline should also be in your safe place just in case something happens there. A friendly reminder, if you are just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button down below. Helps get this out to more people. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest on all the severe weather that's happening right now, as well as throughout the rest of the evening, and potentially as well as tomorrow, because we have another risk for severe weather tomorrow across the Ohio Valley, and as well as the Mississippi Valley. Very large area tomorrow that we're going to be having to watch very closely for all modes of severe weather, but obviously we have to deal with what's happening tonight with the significant damaging wind, hail, and as well as maybe a couple tornadoes for the threats tonight. And that's going to include areas in western Illinois, parts of Iowa. We already have 3 tornado warnings right now. We have 2 down here near Davenport, 1 back up northwest of Des Moines. We are going to talk about that one here in just a couple minutes, but we are currently watching the storm near Davenport. I'm waiting the next radar scan here, which should come in now, and the rotation seemingly has completely dissipated by the looks of it. Yeah, the rotation's not dissipated here. There might still be a little bit of rotation in the upper levels, but at this current time, it is completely gone for the most part. So we're really not looking at much rotation anymore. Could there be a brief tornado between now and 11:45 with this particular storm? Possibly, but that would be east of Davenport. It would probably be east of Riverdale too. But if you're in Riverdale, Moline, Carbon Cliff, Cleveland, I would still stay in your safe place. Cleveland, you got a few minutes, and as well as Greenbrook, but I'll get there within the next few minutes if you're able to. Again, this is a pretty dangerous situation if a tornado did drop, but I do think at this point this storm is losing its grip on rotation, which is good news at this point. We'll continue again to move off to the east. This was earlier, by the way, said about 11:03. Just trying to get the most recent radar scan. We're a little bit behind on them, but rotation's going to be a little bit to the northwest of Moline. At this point, by the way, we've had no confirmation on any tornadoes out of either storm, so the Elridge or the Davenport storm, no confirmed tornadoes. This is back on radar Omega. I was just trying to check and see the rotation, but it does seem to be weakening on this storm entirely. A lot of rain, though, is coming for Davenport. We're going to have showers and storms on and off for the next hour or so for sure. It's definitely a concern. But we do have a new radar scan now coming in on here, so we'll check that out. Again, southwest of Hampton, between Hampton and Moline, is where we still have, looks to be weakening rotation. I'm just trying to confirm that entirely. And for some reason, it keeps kicking me back to this old radar scan. All right, we're going to try to really quickly close out of this and go back in. This is glitching out again like it did earlier. Let's just hop back in. How's everybody doing tonight, by the way? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We do have a tornado warning possibly updated, or a new tornado warning. We're going to go to here. Tornado warning has been condensed, so it no longer includes the downtown area of Davenport. It still does include Moline, East Moline, Hampton, or Hampton's no longer included. I don't think they were included to begin with, but just south of Hampton there. And it also does include Cleveland, Osborne, Dayton, Kelowna, and Carbon Cliff are included in that tornado warning. And those areas are currently included in the tornado warning. Still staying in your safe place here on the east side of Davenport. Again, I don't foresee a tornado happening here, but this is now the latest update on this tornado warning at this time. For some reason altogether, the other software is not opening. Trying to get it open as quick as possible. Let's go back to the velocities here for just a second. Let's check that out. Yeah, the rotation's weakened quite substantially here. The wind is definitely much weaker. It's good news, but again, we could see potentially a redevelopment here at some point down the road. All right, here we go. Yeah, rotation's pretty much gone here. Really, it is gone. I mean, we really lost that rotation very quickly. That rotation went away, and within about 3 minutes, it really weakened out. We have a lot of rain around it, rain, cool air, really hard environment for that tornado to develop. It was a really tough environment, so good news. Good news for sure. Still have those 2 tornado warnings ongoing, one north of Davenport near Eldridge, and as well as Princeton and LeClaire. One for East Moline and Cleveland and Green Rock. The other one should be canceled at this point. I don't know why it's still on here, but the one for Henry County, Rock Island County, and Scott County here in northwest Illinois and as well as eastern Iowa. It's still ongoing for the time being, but the rotation is definitely fizzled out to this point. We just have a wind threat. Let's quickly go to the other storm that's northwest of Des Moines. This is a tornado warning that's been ongoing for a little while. We were just focusing, obviously, on the Davenport storm since it is a much more populated area. This one also has broad rotation at this point, but it is going to be going through Gilmore City, Bradgate, and eventually going towards Livermore, but overall rotation is pretty broad there as well. Have a little bit of hail, actually potentially tennis ball sized hail. I know Jaws was asking about this earlier. Where's the tennis ball sized hail? Tennis ball sized hail was confirmed over in Palo Alto County in Iowa. So tennis ball sized hail, nearly a baseball size. Recently, that was within the past half hour. So there has been some very large hail there, and that is obviously one of those things that we have to kind of monitor with these storms as well as the large hail threat. I think that is the largest hailstone, that we've had all day. So, it is something to put out there, I believe. Same wind in Moline, Illinois. Thank you for the report. Yeah, we do have a lot of wind out of these storms. Again, if you're anywhere in these warnings, regardless if it's a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, I would still treat it as if it's a tornado warning because the winds themselves could knock over trees, potentially send some debris places. Damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour are possible. That is essentially like a very low-end EF0 tornado, but it's always a good idea to just stay away from windows with these storms as they pass, especially with falling trees, and as well as on the lowest floor possible. Keep getting frequent radar updates here, which is always good, but again, I don't see a whole lot of rotation with either one of these cells. Tornado warning for Moline still does continue. We have a little pocket down here south of Moline of maybe a little bit of rotation. That's near Milan, but I'm not overly confident that we're going to get much out of that. The latest radar scan kind of took that out as well. It's very minimal. We just have some high winds, though, going through East Moline right now. The high wind threat is definitely there, but the tornado risk has definitely gone down with this particular storm. Which, again, good news. Tornado warning has, I believe, been essentially... All right, the other tornado warning. I keep getting these buzzing alerts on Radar Omega. I'm like, what's going on here? Because they do go off for updates as well. Still learning the software there. But back up northwest of Des Moines, this tornado warning has been condensed. It still does include Gilmore and Bradgate and Rolfe. I believe Pocahontas is no longer included. That's what we're looking at here in terms of its storm reflect, or in terms of its velocities. Again, pretty weak rotation right now. It's probably not going to produce a tornado, but if you're in Bradgate or Gilmore City, I'll just stay in your safe place just in case. Yeah, we do have tennis ball sized hail confirmed north of that on that other supercell. So some pretty large hail is also possible in those areas. It's not out of the question. We're on a plane about to arrive. Flying through these thunderstorms would be absolutely painful. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, by the way, make sure again to subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest on all these severe weather. Make sure to hit the like button down below. And if you want to support the page, become a member by clicking that join button down below. I'm going to really quickly take a 30-second bathroom break. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. I'm going to leave it on the screen though, so we'll be back again in about 30 to 45 seconds. It might be a minute, but I'll be right back. Stay tuned. I've been live for like 2.5 hours, so I have to real quickly. Be right back. All right, we're back. And my light's not facing the right way. All right, there we go. I'm back. All right, the tornado warning has been canceled, so we are no longer on tornado warnings here. Had to run there. But we are no longer in any tornado warnings in the Davenport area, so that's good news. It's pretty much presumably already going to be that because all the rotation weakened out. The one over in Davenport, north of Davenport, got canceled, or expired, excuse me, and the one south of Davenport got canceled by the National Weather Service. So there's no longer enough rotation for either storm to be tornado warned. But we still have tornado possible labels on these storms out in front because there's still a chance for maybe a brief tornado out of this with the line of storms that is moving now through areas in western and northwest Iowa, or Illinois, excuse me. Again, these will be moving off to the east. It probably will keep drifting down to the south and east as well. So areas like Normal and Peoria, Galesburg could see these storms during the overnight hours. Chicago could see maybe this storm back up near Rockford, but I don't think it'll be severe by the time it gets there. It's actually producing damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour right now, east of Rockford near Harvard. So that's a bit of a concern there as it moves down to the east-southeast. So if you're near Chicago, stay alert. Maybe a low chance for damaging winds, but this shouldn't really impact Chicago too much in terms of a severe weather threat. Other tornado warning has also been lifted, so we are no longer on any tornado warnings. We are just on severe thunderstorm warnings. So, but there is still, again, a tornado possible for these storms here that are now east of Davenport. So we'll still watch for that potential, but the tornado risk in terms of tornado warnings has now, for the time being, subsided, but it, again, could increase down the road. All right. Sorry, I had to run. All right, let me back over here to Twitter. We're going to check to see if there's any new reports. And I think my computer is kind of frozen, so if I freeze, that'd be why. All right, there we go. Everything should be back to normal. Thank you, Tracy, for the $5 super chat. How about, I don't know how to say that name, but in Indiana, let me check that out. Thank you again for the $5 super chat. I do appreciate the support. For that part of Indiana tomorrow, so that's going to be near, it's actually like far western Indiana. So you have a threat overnight. So during the early morning hours, this actual area of storms that's ongoing right now will eventually reach that area. It's not going to be severe, most likely. Maybe some gusty winds or small hail. But going into the afternoon hours, there's a low chance of a couple storms forming, but they should stay down to the south and east there. So that threat over there in western Indiana tomorrow is primarily during the early to mid-morning, and then going into maybe the early to mid-afternoon, there might be a couple storms there, but the threat should primarily stay to your south and east. And, thank you again for the $5 super chat. How's it going, Ro? Welcome back. Also, before I left, I talked so fast. I'm telling you, my outros on YouTube videos recently, they have gone to the point where they are super sonic speed. I mean, I used to talk so fast in those outros. I'm able to do that if I need to. Spitting out a bunch of information in like 5 seconds. Again, back northwest of Chicago, we do have some high winds moving through Kirkland and Belvedere and near New Milford. Again, we had a 64-mile-per-hour wind gust confirmed at the Rockford Airport. So there's been some high winds going through this area. Genoa as well as Marengo will be in the track of this. It's going to be basically traveling to the southeast more than anything. East-southeast, southeast direction. And yeah, again, main threat will be damaging winds as this moves off to the east. I don't really foresee much of a tornado risk here, but damaging winds up to 70 possible going towards Crystal Lake, Elgin, Aurora. So just stay alert if you're in those areas. Chicago should be okay from the damaging wind threat, but let's still stay alert. There's always a chance. But again, all the tornado warnings for the time being have canceled. We are still looking, though, at the tornado possible label on this other storm that is going to be east of Davenport. There's still a low chance of a tornado out of one of these storms. It would probably be on the brief side of things, though, at this point. Tornado risk in Wisconsin is pretty much zero. I mean, it's really not existent up there tonight. Karen, I'm impressed that you speed up my forecast to 1.25 speed. I know I don't know a whole lot of people that do that. I know more people that slow it down than speed it up, but I can see that. I've listened to my forecast at 1.75 speed before, and I can still understand myself. So it's more of a viewed out look of everything. Back north of St. Louis, just a quick update on this storm. This has been a storm that's been going for a while. This is going towards Carrollton. At this current time, again, we do not have any sort of rotation with this, but it is producing a possible core-sized hail threat and 60-mile-per-hour winds as that drifts down to the south and east. Again, that's north of St. Louis. This storm in particular will not impact St. Louis. Maybe just some lightning more than anything. And then we still have a supercell ongoing in northwest Iowa. This storm in particular has produced tennis ball-sized hail, and it's moving off to the east-northeast. Storm itself looks to be weakening a bit, so the hailstone size is dropping a bit, but there might still be around $1.25 sized hail as that moves off to the east-northeast. Bancroft as well, that threat remains intact for the time being. So those are a couple of the threats that we're seeing right now across these areas. And while we're at it, I do want to mention, actually, you might notice at the bottom right of your screen, but we now have a little ad down there. It's not really like an ad, but shopmaxvelocity.net, you can pick up some of really cool merchandise. The tossing trampoline merchandise that we have on our store will be going away next week, so make sure to pick that up before it goes. We also have a Tornadic Supercell hat that's on sale. You can go and check that out on our website. There's 5 different colors. I'll link it in the chat. $1 of every purchase, by the way, of a hat or a shirt will go to the ocean cleanup to help clean our ocean. So there's actually good cause in this. But yeah, again, feel free to pick up something from our store. It does support the page as well. I do appreciate your support. But yeah, they're really high quality, affordable, and comfortable stuff. And I literally have some of my own. I have something in my room. I can show you guys real quick. One second. All right, I'm having some lighting issues. I keep losing my light. But this is an example. I'll just show you real quick. I'm not going to do a full face cam, but this is one of the shirts that I just got. Again, it's a Max Velocity t-shirt. I can't really show the entire thing, but it's really high quality stuff. This is really comfortable as well. It's a Bell canvas shirt. Or Bella Canvas, so it's, again, very high quality stuff. It's really comfortable, so if you ever get something on our store, it's going to be comfortable and high quality. If you have any issues with any of your orders, again, you can go over to the support page and they'll help you out. But yeah, just want to throw that out there. I don't really plug stuff too often on my stream, but that is, again, I really do love what we're doing there. We've already contributed to the ocean cleanup as well with the merchandise that we sold, so it's awesome stuff. But in the near future, with the merchandise store, we are going to start transitioning to more weather-related stuff. So, you know, if there's like a tornado that impacts a place, we'll potentially do as much as like $5 going towards some sort of charity. That'll be something that will be coming in the near future. But, yeah, cool stuff. All right. I need a breather for a second. I literally just ran about 5 minutes ago. I'm still out of breath, but if you have any photos or videos, by the way, from tonight's storms, feel free to message me on Twitter or at me on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. You can also go to our Discord server. All that stuff is linked in the description with the Linktree link. You'll be able to find that down below. And yeah, no problem, Nino. Appreciate you tuning in. When will I start doing that? I didn't see your first message. Yeah, I didn't see your first message, so I don't know what you're talking about. Dallas weather is good. Yeah, if you're in DFW, I'm pretty sure you're good. I know there's a little outflow boundary going through Central Texas. Yeah, there's nothing there. All of DFW is good. Again, we do nationwide coverage, just an FYI. If you're from our North Texas Weather Center page, Max Velocity is a nationwide YouTube channel. So, also, if you have to go for the night, make sure to subscribe before you leave. And click the bell icon so you get notified when we go live. Again, we might go live again tomorrow for tomorrow's severe weather event. I will still be live here for at least the next 30 minutes or so. We'll see what happens. Again, there's still a low tornado potential here over the next 30 minutes, so we are still monitoring that potential. A lot of the activity that we're seeing currently is mostly going to be damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. As well as a lot of lightning. These storms are definitely highly electrified. And the storm back up near Rockford right now, again, producing damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. That's northwest of Chicago. And as that moves off to the east, we could see those high winds go that direction. New severe thunderstorm warning for the Algona area, Burt, and as well as Wesley in parts of Iowa. So this is north central Iowa. Damaging winds up to 60, quarter-sized hail possible. That'll be moving off to the east. That storm did produce baseball-sized hail, almost. It produced tennis ball-sized hail confirmed a little while ago. So that'll, again, continue to move off to the east. Most of these storms are all moving to the east. Some of the outflow boundaries, though, are pushing these storms a bit more to the south and east. So they are varying just a little bit. Davenport is mostly just going to be seeing some rain over the next 30 minutes, maybe a little bit of lightning, but overall, Davenport should be pretty much done for the night. So, good news there. Also, I do want to mention this real quick as well. If you don't want to purchase merchandise, but you still want to support my page, which, again, I do this pretty much full time now, so if you want to support our page above and beyond and help us be able to afford these softwares and stuff like that, you can also become a member for as little as $2.99 a month. There is a link in the top of the description, and there's also donate links down below. It helps, again, the page out tremendously. By no means required, but I just want to throw that out there in case you have found these streams very enjoyable as well as very informative here. Again, I try to go live as much as possible here with these severe weather events. We go live for, marginal risks, slight risks. We go live for pretty much anything, so. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to throw that out there, because I haven't really said anything about that stuff. We're 2.5 hours in. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be answering a few of them. Again, if you have any questions about tomorrow's severe weather event, go to the very beginning of this live stream. It has all the details for you at the very beginning. I highly recommend you look at the beginning of this live stream for the latest details. I have the first 20 to 25 minutes is timing, setup, threats, all that sort of stuff. So if you have any questions about tomorrow, really recommend going to the very beginning of this live stream and checking that stuff out. That'll be really your best guide for tomorrow's severe weather event. It's fully updated as well. Nothing's changed over the last 3 hours in terms of tomorrow's setup. It's pretty much all the same from earlier, so no changes over the last 3 hours. Now, there are changes from today's forecast. If you watch my video forecast on YouTube, there are some changes in that regard, but yeah. Farmers are happy with rain. I agree with that. Some areas definitely need rain. Also, if you do purchase merchandise, sorry, I forgot to mention this too. If you do end up purchasing merchandise during when I'm live, there will be a little alert on the screen that pops up. So that's the last thing I wanted to say about that. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has now been issued. So the damaging wind up to 70-mile-per-hour storm is no longer probably going to exist here. They have now gone ahead and made a new severe thunderstorm warning up until about Princeton, Illinois, so west of La Salle. This is going to be for the threat of damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour and no longer with the tornado possible label. So these storms in particular, they're starting to lose their grip a little bit. They're not nearly as organized. They were very organized going through Davenport. It was impressive how organized they became, but they are now becoming a little bit weaker. It's more outflow driven as well, so that's going to increase the damaging wind threat, but it's going to really just subside the tornado risk for the most part. So this storm now is down to a damaging wind up to 60-mile-per-hour threat. And the one back up in northern Illinois is also at damaging winds around 70 miles per hour. So this is really the most severe storm now. Again, that's northwest of Chicago. This could drop down to the south and east towards Chicago. So again, I don't think Chicago sees severe weather tonight, but if you do, it's going to be maybe damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. But overall, these storms should weaken before they end up getting there. And really over the next hour, a lot of the storm activity should start to weaken out. Also, the severe thunderstorm watches, I believe, are still ongoing. I just don't think they're on here. Unless they both got canceled. They might have actually gotten canceled. Unless they're, again, not displaying correctly, which is entirely possible. I'll just have to double check here. No, the severe thunderstorm watches are still ongoing. I was about to say, why would they be canceled? They are still ongoing, but for some reason, it is not showing up on here. So, just an FYI, there are severe thunderstorm watches ongoing. The one across western Illinois, southeast Iowa, and northeast Missouri goes until 2 a.m. tonight. So, there are still threats of damaging winds here over the next few hours. That's the main concern. Maybe some sporadic hail and perhaps a brief tornado, but that threat remains very low at this point. It's going to keep decreasing here over the next couple of hours. Right. Any tornadoes? No tornadoes right now. We did again have tornado warnings a few moments ago, but is actually, I'm sorry, I do have to change the title. Forgot to change the title. Tornado warnings have all expired at this point. We're only on severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm a one-man show, and I kind of forgot to do some stuff. It happens occasionally. That's all severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado, but I think that threat remains low at this point. Another Cincinnati, Ohio watcher here. Go Reds. Are the Reds even good this year? I haven't really followed baseball much. I know the Red Sox are very average. Like maybe below average, but about it. If you're anywhere in Illinois tonight, I'm not, again, that concerned about severe weather. Yes, there are some severe storms, but a lot of these overall are mainly damaging winds and up to 60, maybe 65 miles per hour. They're going to keep moving south and east, and overall tornado risk is very low. So if you're anywhere in Illinois, the only thing you really need to be prepared for is damaging winds. Still have a tornado action plan in place just in case, but again, that threat still remains low tonight. It's, again, not zero, but it is low. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning in southeast Iowa now, near Unionville and Bloomville. For quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's moving to the east. Yeah, we do have another warning there. The severe thunderstorm warning north of St. Louis has now ended. So we are currently sitting at, well, actually, real quickly, we have a new report of 3-inch hail back over near Cylinder in Iowa. So this is now our highest hailstone today, near the Emmitsburg area in Palo Alto County in Iowa, of 3-inch diameter hail. That is pretty large stuff there. That's apple-sized hail, by the way, for those that are not too familiar with those sort of hailstone sizes. So that's just a little bit above baseball-sized hail. Some fairly large hail, that's for sure. But this storm is overall weakening now. It was producing up to tennis ball to apple-sized hail near Emmitsburg, but it is now again weakening as it moves off to the east. We had no other wind gust reports, by the way, near the Davenport area. The only one was 70 miles per hour. That was from that first storm that went through. To this point. And friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. We're 35 subscribers from 53,900. So make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the stream, and also click the bell icon down below so you get notified with the latest streams. I might do another one tomorrow morning, and it's not 100% yet. I'm not doing a video tomorrow, I know that, but if I do have any updates on tomorrow's severe weather event, I'll do it in the morning, sometime probably around 11 to 12 o'clock Central Time. I might do a longer live stream as well. I'm not 100% sure. It really just depends on my schedule, but if not, the best chance of me going live tomorrow would be during the late morning, and then perhaps possibly during the evening hours. Those are, I'm pretty sure I have stuff going on during the early to mid-afternoon, but we'll see. So, I'm guessing other people will probably be live for that event anyways, but if not, always make sure you're staying updated with your local National Weather Service, and have multiple ways to receive alerts. It's really the best way to go about that threat tomorrow. Again, damaging winds The main concern tomorrow, massive hail is possible with a couple storms, but mostly below 2-inch hail for most of the Ohio Valley and as well as the Mississippi Valley. Now, not everybody's going to see severe weather, but those that do, again, damaging winds, large hail are the main concerns. Could see a couple tornadoes, a few tornadoes across the entire area, but there might be a couple tornadoes across Kentucky particularly. That is where discrete supercells may start to fire off. So that area in western Kentucky, a little bit more concerning. That's what we're looking at right now for tomorrow. Calculus is the key. Calculus is really not fun. If you're in the meteorology degree, calculus can be a little bit painful. Because right now, I'm actually, for those that are new here, I'm currently 2 years through the meteorology degree. 2 years to go. And I've done all my calculus now, and it can be a hassle. Calc 3 was a little bit more difficult than Calc 2, I'd say, but they're both pretty tough. Yeah, taking calc classes, they are definitely a little bit more difficult than a lot of other stuff. Calculus and trigonometry. Trig is also something I do not enjoy too much. I enjoy like some of the aspects to it, but it's a lot of stuff I just do not like doing. There's a lot of elaborate math that you have to do, and it can get a little bit tedious. There's a lot of tedious stuff in Calc 3, I'll say that. Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati will be interesting tomorrow. You're going to be probably seeing that line of storms during the afternoon. Damaging winds, again, being the main concern tomorrow across that area. And this is tomorrow's severe weather threat. If you've not already seen it, which I'm guessing a lot of you have, but if you've not, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather across areas like Ohio, as well as Kentucky and northern Tennessee. This is what we're looking at for tomorrow. And then outside of that, we are still watching for a pretty large area of severe weather. One of the largest areas of severe weather that we've had in quite some time. I mean, you could probably say the event that we had yesterday was fairly large in size, but this tomorrow is going to cover a large area with how numerous the storm activity will be. I mean, we're watching for a lot of storms. Not all of them will be severe, but the ones that are could produce some severe weather. But this is easily the largest area of storm activity that we've probably seen in a good 1 to 2 months, I'd say. I mean, I don't remember seeing this large of an area for severe weather probably since April, early April maybe. When we had those severe weather outbreaks, but this is again going to be more of a severe weather event where we're looking at numerous storm activity, but some severe weather. Not all the storms will be severe, but the ones that are damaging winds, definitely the key concern for tomorrow. Tomorrow will again be a bit of an interesting day. The next Storm Prediction Center update for tomorrow's outlook will be coming out in approximately 80 minutes. So if you are curious on that, you're trying to stay up to see that next outlook, that's when it is, but I know I will be, but yeah, they'll be out in about 80 minutes or so. Hey, good luck, Core. Calculus it can be a little different, a little bit difficult. What time will the storm start in Kentucky? If you have any questions about the timing for severe weather tomorrow, go to about 15 to 20 minutes at the very beginning of this live stream. I have a full timing guide state by state. I highly recommend watching that. That is the latest updated forecast from me. And that'll give you the estimated timing. I went in detail on all the different states as well. It's not just like a broad overview. This was originally, by the way, a stream just for the severe weather forecast for tomorrow, and it turned into a full-blown severe weather live stream because of the tornado warnings that we saw. So, yeah, stuff happens. It's active sometimes, and we actually had a pretty decent amount of tornado warnings here tonight. I think since we've been live, we've had 6 or 7 tornado warnings total. So it's been active. By the way, make sure to follow us on all of our social media as you're here. I'll post a link in the chat. You click the Linktree link, it brings you to all the social media. And also, we do have a mailbox. If you ever want to send random mail to my mailing address, feel free to. Just throwing that out there. Some people have. I actually got a gift box a couple months ago for Easter, and can't remember the name now, but give me like a t-shirt and Easter candy. It was pretty interesting. If you're in East Moline, it's mostly just, or Moline, If you're anywhere in the Davenport, Moline area, it's just thunder and lightning at this point. Maybe a little bit of gusty winds, but the tornado risk at this point has subsided. So it's mainly just now a maybe gusty winds and just lightning at this point. That's about it. And after that, you're basically done. We do have a little bit of, not really rotation, but just some wind gusts. This could be something to watch for, but I would say it's probably just going to be wind gusts at this point. And anything over here is all wind gusts at this point as well. Such a long time since I've had any storms near me. And if you're in the Midwest, it has been a drought for the last couple months. It has been so dry. Like, so dry. It's finally starting to, we're starting to see some storm activity now as we go into the later half, or not later half of the spring, but into the early summer now. And this is now, we're starting to get kind of back to typical weather patterns in the Midwest. We're starting to see that storm activity. And it'll obviously ramp up as we go into July as well. But we've had a good chunk of June without any storm activity in the Midwest, which is, again, not overly, I would say, it's not like rare, but it's just not typical. We usually see a little bit more storm activity during this time of the year. But you can thank all the Omega block patterns that we've had. It's just been, screwing with the weather pattern, basically. That Omega block pattern, we've had it about 3 or 4 times this spring. It has been a consistent trooper when it comes to a weather pattern. It's interesting. Again, we will be starting to kind of get away from that a little bit more now. And from here on out, we'll be seeing a little bit more of active severe weather in the Midwest. New severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for areas south of Rochelle. This is for Dixon, Amboy, and near Interstate 88 for damaging winds around 60 miles per hour. The storm near Rockford still continues for damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. That storm does look to be weakening, though, a little bit. So, but a new severe thunderstorm warning along Interstate 88 in between Sterling and Rochelle. Yeah, I think that's Rochelle, near Stewart. So if you're, a truck driver, just be alert. Again, this storm's going west to east near Sterling right now. Northwest Indiana might see some storm activity, but that would probably be during the morning hours. And unlikely to be severe. Maybe some strong storm activity there. We're only 25 subscribers from 53,900, so make sure, again, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon down below so you're notified when we go live as well. Again, we do live streams quite often for severe weather coverage across the entire United States. We do mostly focus, though, on the Midwest, Southern and Central Plains, and the Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley. Those are the main areas. We do some Southeast coverage as well when needed, and as well as the Northern Plains, Northeast. It really just depends on what the events are, but we're probably exclusive. Appreciate you tuning in. Zach, I don't try to do too much model hunting. I mean, I usually look at like one computer model run, or not like one computer model run, but you know what I mean? Like if I'm looking at the HRR model, I'm not going to look at the 19Z model run and then the 20Z model run. I'm just going to look at one or the other. It kind of depends. I mean, if we're really close to the event, like within a couple hours of storms forming, I might kind of go back and forth. But if we're like 18, 20 hours out from severe weather, or even 12 hours, whatever it might be, I'm not usually going to go back and forth between the different time frames. So I usually stick with one. But obviously, there's different scenarios. It just depends on the, the environment that we have and all that sort of stuff. If there's a big change to the environment that's forecasted, it's always good to go maybe, to the next model run. But I mean, I don't think there's really any big changes to the environment tomorrow. The only thing that could change the environment a bit would be this line of storms. Depending on how far east and as well as far south it goes, that could hinder the severe weather threat a bit, and maybe potentially, put some sinking air over Indiana, maybe limit the severe weather threat there. But a lot of that stuff will not be determined until tomorrow morning. It just depends on how far this storm activity goes. So there's not a whole lot of point going in between model runs, like in terms of like, by an hour. I usually just go by whatever the one is, like, the 00Z or the 18Z. But I mean, I do use different computer models. I don't just use one all the time. Even though it looks like on the videos, I only use the HR model. I mean, before I make a video forecast, I'm using a different computer model. And I'm looking at different sort of environmental parameters and kind of seeing, what's the greatest threat and all that sort of stuff. And kind of deciphering through that stuff as well. All right, cool. you have any questions, again, feel free to let me know in the chat. And if you're just tuning in, and if you've not already, make sure to hit the like button down below. We're only 37 likes from 1,000. Would be pretty cool if we got to 1,000 likes. We haven't gotten there, I think, in a couple months. And we're only 10 subscribers, again, from 53,900. Make sure to subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Don't have much else to say right now. I mean, most of the storm activity is weakening out. Damaging winds, the main concern with any storms remaining. Still have a hailstorm back up in northern parts of Iowa. This has produced hail up to 3 inches, but it's now down to 1 inch diameter, so apple-size hail. That is weakened out. The storm back near the Unionville area in Bloomfield is producing damaging winds around 60 and quarter-sized hail. And the storms that are now east of Davenport are still producing some damaging winds, but hail threat is definitely diminished. We do have a delayed report coming out of the Durant area, so this is west of Davenport. A report of tree limbs down in Durant, and a tree was blown over onto a home roof. So that is the latest out of the west of Davenport area. How's it going, Sailor? Welcome back. That's the latest. We have a delayed report there. But the severe thunderstorm warning has now either expired or has just been canceled for the Rockford area. That storm did look to be weakening fairly quickly. Has weakened at this point, though. No tornadoes, no. No tornadoes for the Aurora area. It's mainly just damaging winds. If you see anything, again, I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado, but the threat is just very, very low now. It's all outflow-driven storms at this point. South of Springfield here just picked up, or the wind just picked up. Thank you for the report. There's definitely going to be a little bit of wind with these storms. Back down to the south, there actually is a little cell down near Springfield, too. So, probably what's producing the wind. But you'll actually see on the reflectivity here, it's pretty well defined, but we do have that outflow boundary here. So, that's pushing down to the south and east. And that is the outflow boundary that is producing the gusty winds out in front of the area of storms, which is actually decreasing the tornado risk. So, since now we have now more of a defined outflow boundary, that is now kind of transitioned to just more to a damaging wind threat. And we're going to, again, the tornado threat should really stay at 0 tonight, but I always say, you know, there's always a chance for a brief tornado, but it's going to be very, very hard for a tornado to happen in this kind of environment. A report of hail in Moline. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, there might be some very small hail, but it's probably nothing too crazy. All these storms in particular are actually capable of like pea-sized hail, but it's a very isolated threat. I mean, I can circle a few areas where we might be seeing some very tiny hail around maybe pea-sized or less, but it's very, very tiny. These storms, in terms of their updrafts, are much weaker now, and they're not, you know, racing speeds or anything like that now. Weston, probably another 15 minutes, is my guess. Go for the 3-hour mark. Unless anything drastic happens here in the next 15 minutes, but yeah, I think the severe weather threat is lowering. But while we're at it, and I just want to kind of mention this real quick, again, if you want to support my page and you want to get some Max Velocity merchandise, you can go over to our store at shopmaxvelocity.net. Again, we do have flying trampoline merchandise for Texas and as well as the Max Velocity page. This is exclusive and it goes away in a week, so if you want to get one, feel free to get one. They're not going to be coming back, at least these particular products. We might have another flying trampoline line, but it's not going to be the same. And then also a Supercell hat if you want to get one of these. They're embroidered, very high quality, different colors as well. Again, you can check that out at shopmaxvelocity.net. I will leave the link in the chat. $1 for every hat and t-shirt sold does go to the ocean cleanup, which again is basically helping to clean our oceans. So you're doing some good as well making a purchase. But yeah, just want to throw that up there. But again, for those that really want some flying trampoline merchandise, I always mention the flying trampolines. And if you're new here and you have no clue what flying trampolines are, this is our flying trampoline meter. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people that has ever made a flying trampoline meter in terms of a wind meter. So this is going to be, let's actually go to tomorrow's risk. That's an old risk. But for tomorrow, we do have a high risk of flying trampolines. So you'll see that here. We have a high risk of flying trampolines. You might be wondering, what's the science behind a flying trampoline meter? Well, basically, this is all these photos that you see here are actually from the flying trampoline outbreak of March in North Texas, in DFW. And again, that's my name. It's not anybody else's name. I just made that up. But I literally called it a flying trampoline outbreak. I had about 50 or maybe even 100 broken trampoline photos sent to me. There were various trampolines across DFW from damaging winds around 80 miles per hour. True story, by the way. And this is basically our flying trampoline meter. Ever since that happened, we have now a meter. But we have a low risk, which usually means like 1 or 2 trampolines might go flying on a given day. Medium risk usually means maybe a few flying trampolines. High risk usually means maybe around a dozen flying trampolines. The extreme risk means maybe a few dozen. And then the gone forever is usually the full-blown, flying trampoline outbreak. So there's actually a science behind it. I know it's for some people it's just kind of funny, but it's actually a real thing that I've made now. It's actually a real forecast, at least from my perspective. I use it a lot more on North Texas Weather Center, but if you ever watch one of my video forecasts, we'll pull it up occasionally if there's any significant weather events, and we'll kind of just use it and kind of go with it. But yeah, it's actually kind of useful, even though it's a little bit of a meme, but it actually has a purpose. I'll say that, because a lot of people have trampolines and they actually go flying. And some people don't hatch them down. Some people aren't just prepared for the severe weather that's coming. So, yeah, writing that down. Yeah, I would write that down too. And by the way, if you do purchase a merchandise item, you can go ahead or if you do purchase a merchandise item during the live stream, you will see an alert on the screen, like on this live stream. So it's kind of a little cool alert, but there is a link to this in the description as well if you want to get anything. But again, by no means it's not required. By any means, I mean, just something I want to throw out there. I actually didn't cover the tornado emergency last night, Elva. I did cover the tornado warning after the tornado emergency. I wasn't able to go live quick enough since I was busy. So I did cover the tornado warning in Scotts Bluff, but it was the second one. It wasn't the tornado emergency one, which at this point, I'm not entirely sure. I still haven't really seen a whole lot of photos or videos of that tornado. There was apparently a tornado emergency, but I never really saw a photo of that tornado. I still haven't. I'm not sure if it was maybe just rain wrapped entirely or something, but I feel like I would have heard more about it. Jesse, Southwest Michigan tonight, not really much. You might get a little bit of thunderstorm activity during the overnight, maybe early morning, not severe. Going into tomorrow, there is a risk for severe weather. Again, go to the very beginning of this live stream for more details on that. I have a full, first 20 minutes of this live stream is all about the severe weather for Michigan all the way back through Alabama and Mississippi. It's a pretty large area tomorrow. Again, we have a very large risk of severe weather tomorrow. It's not just in the not northern plains, the Ohio Valley, but it's also back down through the Dixie Alley. Very large area tomorrow. So, yeah, if you're in anywhere in these areas, I'd just make sure you're prepared for tomorrow. Damaging winds being the main concern across this entire region. I do expect a larger enhanced risk of severe weather tomorrow, mainly for damaging winds. There could be a couple tornadoes, especially across areas like Kentucky, and then the large hail threat will exist as well. But it's going to be primarily focused in a couple different areas with the discrete cells over in Kentucky, as well as back down in Arkansas. Exclusive, yes. Yeah, Moline, Davenport area, you're done with the tornado warnings for tonight. Yeah, line of storms is already pushing through. You still have a little storm kind of behind you, so you might actually see more thunder and lightning, maybe some heavy rain for a little bit, but again, severe weather is not expected anymore there. You guys want me to do a rapid forecast? Might as well. All the severe weather is kind of winding down. I'm gonna do a rapid forecast, all right? And I've never done one of these before, but you can catch on to me. I'm actually gonna attempt this. I do kind of wonder. I'm gonna watch this back and see how good it is. But here we go with a rapid forecast. Let me just get a sip of water. We're gonna go warning by warning, so we'll start with this one. All right. We currently have a severe thunderstorm warning ongoing in northwest Iowa. This is currently for Burt, Algona, as well as Wesley. This is producing quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds moving out to the east at going about 12:15 a.m. It's going about east at 29 miles per hour. That'll be going towards Gardner and Mason City eventually. Back near Davenport, east of Davenport near Dixon. This is another area where we have severe weather ongoing for damaging winds around 60 miles per hour and large hail. Large hail is really low threat, but we're really watching for damaging winds around 60 miles per hour. This is going to go towards Rochelle, Interstate 88, and as well as near 51. It will go towards Papa as well as Bona over the next about 30 minutes or so. So make sure, again, staying away from windows low as far as possible as these storms do pass. Falling trees is also possible with the damaging wind around 60 miles per hour. Further down to the south and west near I don't know how to say that name. Near Bloomfield as well as Drakesville, we do have another storm ongoing for 60 mile per hour winds as well as quarter-size hail. That's moving off to the east. And this storm will also go towards areas near Florence over the next little while. All right, that was a rapid forecast. I do kind of wonder how that sounds on the playback, but Yeah. I did an outro. I've done the outros the past 2 days really fast, and I just kind of wonder how it actually sounds because I can talk really fast if I need to, but obviously I would not do that during a normal live stream, especially if we have a tornado warning. There's no way I'd talk that fast, but it's always a good little science experiment. I mean, the severe weather is again winding down, but just want to kind of do that just to see how it sounds. Sounds like an ad. I know it sounds like a radio ad. One of those fast speaking people. Sold. That's pretty much what it is. It's pretty funny. If you watch any of the last 2 videos in particular, if you want to watch them and hear my outros are about 3 seconds long. It is, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like button down below and subscribe if you're not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting. That's literally it. It's about 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds. Really, really quick. But yeah, it's funny. I do already talk naturally fast to begin with, and speeding up like 5x basically speed, it can get worse. So. Yeah, it's funny. I'll have to wait. What? All right, so it's 2:53. I'm just gonna timestamp this. I want to go back and actually hear this for myself after the stream's over. Yes, I'm Max the rap god. Oh goodness. All right. Imagine playing that at 2x speed. Yeah, I mean, imagine playing any of my videos at 2x speed to begin with. I already talk fast naturally. Talking even faster would be something else. Hail chances for the Algona area. Did you not hear it when I was doing the fast speaking? No, I'm kidding. Algona is a really low chance of hail. Really anywhere in these storms. It's mostly just wind, so damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour with any of these storms. The ones up here in Illinois, which I'm pretty sure Algona's over here, but really the main concern right now is going to be damaging winds around 60 miles per hour. Moving off to the east, other than that, the hail threat's really diminished. We might see like some small hail. You'll notice here down south of Interstate 80, there's a small patch of hail, but it's not much. It's a pretty low-end threat at this point. But overall, the tornado risk is also very low. Not 0. Talk fast, yeah. I should talk fast more often, shouldn't I? That'd be wild. By the way, a little bit of exciting news coming pretty soon. It's not finalized, but soon we'll be actually working with Radar Omega, most likely. So, just want to kind of throw that out there. I have not mentioned that yet, but we are going to be working with a radar company here pretty soon for live streams in particular. So, I'm excited to do that. I actually do like their software, and we'll be using a little bit more in the live streams upcoming. A fairly solid software, especially for a lot of the other stuff that this software can't handle sometimes, like velocity, sometimes this crashes, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'll be working with Radar Omega pretty soon. Most likely, again, it's not finalized yet, but that'll be coming in the next week. I should know by Monday. Good stuff coming. And also, I actually want to mention this as well. The Reed Timmer update. I know some of you guys know that I mentioned this a while back. We're going to do radar breakdowns on Reed Timmer streams. That could still happen, but it's still probably at least a month or 2 away. It's still not there yet, but it is something that is still possible during the later half of the summer. So I might still be doing that with Reed Timmer as well here pretty soon on his live streams, doing radar breakdowns. But again, it's not confirmed yet, but it is still possible. Still in the potential for later this summer. I thought it was going to be sooner, but obviously it is not. So just want to throw that out there for those that have also heard about that, which I've only mentioned in live streams. So rain would be exciting in the Chicago area. When's the last time Chicago actually saw rain? I don't know when the last time Chicago saw rain, but I'm guessing it has not been any time recently. Maybe like a little bit, but probably not much. Minnesota's in a drought. There's a lot of areas in a drought right now, I'll say that. A friendly reminder, by the way, if you want to support this page above and beyond, again, you can become a member on our YouTube channel for as little as $2.99 per month. We have like the cheapest memberships pretty much on YouTube. If you want to become a member, you can click the top link in the description. You get a tornado icon badge in the chat. You also get bloopers access and some other stuff as well, some exclusive videos and weather tutorials. Make sure to check that out if you want to support the page. Again, it starts with $2.99 per month. That's less than a cup of coffee. Again, it helps the page out a lot. And yeah, again, we do have Vince. Storm Chaser Vince is usually with us for live streams. Tonight, obviously not, because he's not chasing. He was chasing earlier today in Iowa, but he is, I'm guessing, probably sleeping now or something like that. But if we do go live tomorrow, I'm guessing that we will probably have Vince with us, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm guessing, though. So, Yes, Arkansas. Yeah, we do have Vince Walty. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but we are with Vince right now. As of recently, that's within the past month. So a lot of things are upcoming now. I mean, again, we're going to be working with Radar Omega here pretty soon, most likely. Again, I cannot confirm it yet, but it is something that's going to be coming here probably within the next couple of weeks. I'm very excited to do that. And yeah, that's really the short-term stuff. And then Reed Timmer is potentially going to be more of a long-term thing. But again, not 100% sure yet about that. Possible. You won't have to close your windows. You know, I wish I had weather where I could just open my windows all day. That'd be awesome. You know, having windows open, AC unit not really running, that'd be great. Thanks, Sailor. Appreciate it. Colorado's out of a drought for the first time ever? Are they? I can look at the drought monitor. We'll see. I don't know when Colorado... Yeah, Colorado's not in a drought at all. This is the drought monitor. The Midwest has been in a growing drought. The Central Plains has been in a drought for, it feels like an eternity, but it probably hasn't been that long. Texas still in somewhat of a drought. But yeah, Colorado pretty much entirely out of a drought, it looks like. I mean, literally, the entire state nearly. The only parts that aren't is in southeast and northeast Colorado. But this could actually get updated. I think southeast Colorado probably won't, but northeast Colorado just saw a ton of rain last night, so it might get lessened there. Might not be a drought at all there anymore. And by the way, again, friendly reminder, if you are wondering about tomorrow's severe weather across anywhere in the Ohio Valley, or as well as into the Mississippi Valley or Dixie Alley, make sure to go to the very beginning of this live stream. I have all the details for you in those first few minutes. I highly recommend going there instead of asking, because I'm not going to really answer any more questions about tomorrow. I talked about it all in the first 20 minutes of this live stream. Literally everything that you need to know in terms of timing, the threats, all that sort of stuff. Make sure to go to the beginning of the live stream. Actually, I don't think we have those days where we can open windows in Texas. You only can open windows really during like maybe the late fall, winter, maybe spring. There aren't a whole lot of days though, even in Texas, where you can open windows. There aren't that many days where we're like around 70 or 75, where it's just, you know, at the right temperature. And even overnight, you know, temperatures can have a wide range. So, yeah. Where's everybody from, by the way, in the chat? I'm kind of curious. I'm guessing a lot of you are from the Midwest, but good to kind of get a little bit of knowledge. You don't have to say your city, by the way. You can just say your state, but just curious. Severe weather risk, by the way, still does continue across the northern parts of Iowa. Isolated tornado risk does exist there. It's very isolated, very low chance, but that is still an existent threat in northern Iowa. Otherwise, just hail and wind. Wisconsin, Illinois, Wisconsin, Central Florida, Western Pennsylvania, Arizona, Springfield. That's in Illinois. There's a lot of Springfields in the United States. Vancouver, Canada. Oh, that's an interesting one. Canada viewers. I do get actually some occasional Canada viewers. We don't really cover Canada much, but we do talk about it sometimes. Just depends. With Radar Omega, once we start using it more in the live streams, we can cover Canada stuff. We're not actively able to with the software. So that'll be a nice little thing to do, especially during the summer months where we do get severe weather in Canada. We'll get better coverage with that. So that's also good news there. Colorado, North Dakota, New Jersey, Indiana, Chicago, Sierra Nevada. California is one of those states where I think my following is probably under 1,000 people because I really don't cover much of California. California is a typically very inactive state. It's usually very quiet unless there's a what do you call it? My brain's not working. I can't remember what it's called, but I mean, when you have like a bomb cyclone, for example, but it's something else. I can't think of the word, but whenever those things happen, we usually get, you know, a lot more rainfall and whatnot and higher winds, so it gets more active. We covered that earlier this year. I just cannot. Pineapple Express, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. But yeah, but when we get Pineapple Expresses, it gets very active. Yes, I know. I hit 3 hours on the stream. Thank you. Great accomplishment to me. 3 hours on a live stream. I usually do live streams around 3 hours or so. It's average. I mean, and live streams really vary though. I mean, they can be anywhere from 1 to 8.5 hours. That's like the range that I have. So it's a pretty large range. I dropped the Q word. Quiet. Oh no. Quiet is a word that I do not use that often though. we're talking about weather, because it's not usually that quiet when we're talking about in videos and live streams. We're usually talking about a lot of active stuff, like severe weather or whatever it might be. So, by the way, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. We are 70 subscribers from 54,000. Let's see if we can hit 54,000 subscribers before the stream ends. Make sure to subscribe. Click the bell icon also if you're new here, so you get notified when I go live and all the latest videos. And like the stream. Western Kentucky, Tennessee, Surprise, Arizona. I'm guessing if you're from Surprise, Arizona, you've seen that that meteorologist clip on YouTube of the person talking about like 2,000 degrees in Surprise or whatever. Maybe you haven't, but that's always a funny clip. How many tornadoes does Arizona get? They actually get a little bit more than you might think, primarily during the late summer, but I'm not entirely sure about the number. Not very good with remembering numbers about average tornadoes in certain states. You can probably look that up, though, the average amount of tornadoes. Actually, I'll just look it up. Let's see, average tornadoes, about 5 tornadoes each year. Okay, never mind, it's a lot lower than I thought. I actually thought it was a little bit higher than that. Average is about 3 to 5 tornadoes per year in Arizona. That's it. Only 5. I thought it was a lot. I honestly thought it was like 15 or 20. I'm probably thinking about maybe near, I don't even know. I mean, sometimes in southern Nevada we get, there's sometimes some tornadoes there too. It's just very, I guess it's very isolated. 2,000 degrees in Arizona, yes. I'm pretty familiar with that clip. This is a pretty funny one. Peoria is probably going to be fine. Maybe some gusty winds, but I don't expect much severe weather there. It should remain as a low threat overall. Algona area, by the way, I know somebody was asking about this earlier, but they're pretty much done now. But there is maybe a little bit of rotation near Wesley. It's mostly going to be a hail threat, though. So quarter to $half size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds as that tracks to the east. And then near the areas in Illinois, we still have some storms rolling through. A lot of it's not severe anymore, but if there is any sort of severe activity, which is primarily near Amboy, South Rochelle, and near Walnut and Hoopool, that's mainly just going to be damaging winds up to 60. Not really any sort of hail threat anymore with those storms. Tornado risk is going down, too. Minnesota gets 27 a year. Is it really that high? I mean, I guess I'm not too surprised. I'm a little bit surprised that it's that high. I thought it'd be closer to like 15 or 20. That's why I thought about Arizona, and I was nowhere close. So I'm not very, just for context, I've literally been covering nationwide weather for about a year, just over a year now. I've only ever really covered Texas weather, a little bit of New England weather. That's pretty much about it up until last year. So we have a flying trampoline index for tomorrow in Cincinnati. Was that where it is? Yeah, Cincinnati. Tomorrow's flying trampoline index for tomorrow is high. Anyway, pretty much anywhere around southwest Ohio, back through Kentucky, is in that high risk for flying trampolines tomorrow. What do you use to make your map all pixels? I mean, I can make it all pixels like this. Reflectivity. If that's what you're asking. Probably not, boys. Probably not. Tornado risk is extremely low now. All this stuff is outflow driven, so it's just gonna be damaging winds primarily for the rest of the night. Thank you, Bob, for becoming a minimum velocity member. I appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a member. We're up to, I think, 99 members here on YouTube. So if you want to become a member, you might be the 100th member active on our YouTube channel. I just remembered. We're at 97 to start the stream. We're up to 2 more, so we're at 99 total members here on YouTube. Become a member if you want. Join button or top link. If you're on iOS or Android, you might want to get it on the computer if you're trying to become a member because it's cheaper. They do charge fees on the mobile devices. You have a monsoon outlook for Arizona. I'm going to be honest with you, I do not. I don't really cover, I'll be honest, like I cover nationwide stuff, but I don't talk about too much of what's happening down in the southwest United States. I might possibly at some point in July, but it just depends on how active it is. If it's not very active in the United States at some point in July, I sometimes do throw out random forecasts, maybe like monsoon type stuff, but I've never yet done one, but it's a possibility that I do it later on. I do cover some monsoon stuff during that time of the year, but it's very minimal usually. I will be in 2 years. I'm 2 years through meteorology degree. Nate, if you're wondering about my videos, there is a link in the description on videos for the software I use on there. It's not really software, it's just a website. What's the weather in Minnesota? Minnesota is going to be looking at rain tonight. Let's go to the live. Oop, did not mean to do that. Here's the live look, or not. Yeah, this is the live look at the rain around here. It's actually interesting what we're seeing right now. Here's your low pressure system that's spinning over northeast South Dakota. We do have some storm activity here that's ongoing, but most of the storm activity is not going to be severe. If there's any severe weather, it's just damaging winds, maybe a little bit of sporadic hail. Tornado risk is very low out of this activity. But our low pressure system's back over here. So why we're seeing that tornado risk a little bit more tonight in northern Iowa, that's why we saw a couple tornado warnings earlier, is because we have a bit more of a low-level jet here, some stronger lower-level winds. So that's kind of increased that risk just a little bit. But overall, that's basically what we're looking at, just some passing showers, maybe an isolated storm tonight. New report coming out of Osborne, Illinois. Report of a tree down at about 11:13. So it was about an hour ago. Just a delay report there. We've had some high winds going through those areas, so it does make sense that we've seen that over there. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below. We are currently 53 subscribers from 54,000. Pretty big milestone, so again, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon down below as well so you get notified with our latest live streams. Again, I might go live tomorrow. The likelihood of me going live tomorrow during the entire event is low, but I might go live before and after, or like before and like maybe at the tail end. That's kind of how my schedule works tomorrow, so I'll be trying to at least do a live stream during the morning, or late morning. At this rate, I probably will not have a live stream until like 11 or maybe noon time, but we'll see. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kayla, for becoming a minimum velocity member, our 100th member active on our YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Kayla and Bob, becoming members here on the YouTube channel. I just moved to Florida recently. I do not miss the snow. I'll be honest with you. I do not miss the snow either. Snow is one of those things that, you know, tough to shovel. But I will say one thing. You know, if you're in Texas right now and, you know, you're hoping for snow, I don't know why you would be, because if it snowed right now, it would be brutal to shovel all that snow up with the heat that we have, you know? It's just, you know, if we had some snow with 100-degree weather, it'd be brutal shoveling all that snow up. It's a horrible joke, but you know where I'm going with it. I just kind of thought of that one. Might not even be a joke. It was just probably a really dumb statement. Wisconsin's gonna be fine. It's just rain, maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning. You're pretty much good at this point. Tornado risk anywhere around the Chicago area is pretty much 0. Update, by the way, up in Orangeville in northern Illinois. This is an old report, but I didn't see this one. Apparently, there's a few trees down over in Freeport toward Orangeville. There's also a report of a blown transformer in this area. So, that's some stuff that happened up there. Kevin, no, I do not. No, Waterloo should be all right. Anywhere really in Iowa tonight should be all right. I mean, there's like a little storm there. Probably won't be severe. Let's just check this out a little bit more. And yeah, maybe some small hail and gusty winds, but it's not organized and it's pretty far away from that low pressure system, which is also helping to create some of that severe weather. So yeah, that threat overall very low. Still stay alert. Might be some lightning. Just make sure you have ways to receive alerts in case you go to bed, but it's not really anything too crazy. See you later, Keith. I'm surprised I'm still live streaming. I'm getting tired too. Forgot shoveling snow. Let it melt. Yeah, you could do that too. Just let the snow melt too. That's a good idea. What's my opinion on hockey? Hockey is... It's hockey. It can be kind of boring, but... I find it entertaining sometimes. It's one of those things that I put on for a few minutes and just kind of watch, but I don't find it the most entertaining sport. Thank you, DL, for the very generous $10 super chat. I appreciate that a lot, DL. Thank you so much. No message, but I do appreciate the support. Thank you to any of the new members, by the way. Anybody that's purchased merchandise and also the super chats tonight. I really do appreciate you guys. It really helps this page going. I really do appreciate it. And obviously, if you cannot afford to, I'm not saying anything about that, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I do appreciate it. Helps the page out a lot. We obviously have Storm Chaser events, and the software that we have is pretty expensive, so it does help out a lot. What made me want to start doing weather? I've been doing weather since I was 3. Instead of watching cartoons on TV, I would actually watch, like, you know, SpongeBob, for example. A lot of you may have grown up watching SpongeBob. Instead, I watched the Weather Channel. Not even kidding. I'd have the Weather Channel on my room. I'd be pretending to, like, you know, do the weather on the TV screen. I don't know why. It was just something that kind of naturally came to me. When I was 10 years old, I went to a weather camp that was only meant for high school and college students. And instead of, you know, I actually got accepted into that. It was like an invite sort of thing. And I got accepted into that, even though it was for high school and college students, which is, I think the youngest age other than me was 16. I was 10. I got in there very young. I met some pretty popular meteorologists in New England. And I was also able to do a little forecast on the TV screen, or on the green screen, excuse me, at NECN, which is a station up in New England. I actually have a video of that. I have showed it before. I think it's exclusive to members, so if you want to watch that video, you can go into the members playlists on YouTube and see them and see that video. But yeah, I also probably will show it again at some point in the near future. But yeah, cool stuff. You grew up on National Geographic. That's also, I mean, there's some other things too. I mean, some people like watch like the History Channel or whatever it might be, even when they're grown up. But I mean, I was 3 years old, literally 3 or 4. Watching, instead of SpongeBob, I'd watch the Weather Channel. It was one of the weirdest things for a kid. I'll say that. It's not like my parents forced me to. It was just something I chose to do. I don't know why. Must have been all the, like, the fancy colors that they used back in the day or something. I don't know. It was interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, pretty cool. Yeah, but if you want to see that video that I did from NECN, it is actively available to members. I know that. I will not upload it to the public, but I might show it again in a future live stream. I don't have the video on this laptop at the moment. I'm actually, by the way, streaming on a laptop. We are budgeting here with a laptop. I'm hoping to get a computer set up at some point in the future for live streams, especially, so we can have more ability to have more live chasers, and in addition to that, we can have more feeds, so I can kind of see what's happening everywhere. We only have 2 monitors. It's what I'm looking at right now with the radar and then the chat. Yeah, we're literally running off a laptop, which is pretty impressive for a live stream. I don't know if there's really anybody else on YouTube that does weather coverage off of a laptop, but it's a pretty high. I mean, it's not like a, you know, high quality one, but it's good enough to run this sort of stuff. We are down to 1 severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, and then after that, we're pretty much done. I don't even know why I'm still live here, but might as well. Is the radar up to date? Yeah, we're up to date right now. This is the 12:18 a.m. radar update. I looked outside and I thought I saw stars. What'd you see? You said you thought. Cover weather on a phone? Imagine me covering weather on a phone, like literally legitimately covering, having like the camera being the face cam. Oh, that'd be something else. That would be a challenge that I'd be willing to do sometime. Yeah, but I mean, it's a true story. I'm not like making it up. It's all true stuff. I legitimately watched the Weather Channel when I was younger. That was what I did. Interesting times, I'll say that. Interesting times. Cupid, yeah, I know of him. I don't watch him, but I do know of him. To be quite frank, I don't really watch anybody on YouTube. I just, you know, do my own thing. Pretty much how it goes. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. We'll probably end the live stream here in a few minutes. Everything's pretty much winding down. A lot of the storm activity going towards Chicago right now is just some strong storms, maybe some gusty winds, small hail. I'm just kind of talking anyways, because why not? Talk a little bit. I talk a lot usually at the end of the live streams. When we do longer live streams, it's usually like a 30-minute talking session about just random stuff. I enjoy. I do like talking about stuff. Actually, we're 40 minutes away from the update. I don't think I'm gonna stay up until I'm probably not gonna be live for the update. I doubt it. I don't know. We'll see. If there's more severe weather popping up, I will. But I mean, there's really not much out there right now. It's very minimal activity. We have trees down, by the way, near this is a new report that just came out near Davenport. There are trees down in the Bettendorf area. So, Scott County, just a little heads up. Obviously, there were some high winds, tornado warnings there earlier, so that is a thing going through that area. No problem, Bobby. Anything gonna happen in Utah? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure not. I think Utah's gonna be alright. I don't think there's gonna be anything too crazy there. Thanks, Bugsy. We have a new wind gust or wind damage report coming out of Harmon in Lee County, Illinois. This is going to be for a tree down on Lee County, or in Lee County, at intersection of IL-26 and Todd Road, blocking traffic. That is the latest out of there. We have a tree down. Sometime in the future, I'm going to have to do an ASMR weather live stream. It has to happen at some point, right? That was actually, funny enough, I mean, about a year ago, maybe just a little under a year ago, before I went back to college, I actually mentioned, I was like, you know, if my roommates and our suite mates or whatever, you know, didn't want me to, you know, do weather live streams or weren't cool with it, I would just do like ASMR live streams. And I wasn't even kidding about that. I was actually going to do that if I had issues with the sound and stuff, but luckily I didn't have to do that. That was a possibility though, back last year. True story. A lot of true stories. No problem, cowboy. Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be interesting. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upgraded risk. I don't really have an outlined area for, you know, a new risk by any means for the enhanced risk. I really don't. I'm so tired. But it's probably gonna be somewhere in here. If we see an enhanced risk upgrade, it'd probably be this area here for damaging winds primarily. I don't think Tennessee would be. I really, this area here might get upgraded entirely to an enhanced risk for damaging winds in particular. Back down in Arkansas could also have an enhanced risk there for hail and possibly wind. So this is kind of what I'm thinking. Again, I'm not the Storm Prediction Center, but for tomorrow, those are the two areas that I think could get upgraded to at least an enhanced risk. Obviously, some of those areas already are, like, you know, near Louisville is in that little enhanced risk across Kentucky and South Ohio, Northern Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, overall, my kind of expectation right now is that we'll probably see some sort of larger enhanced risk of severe weather for tomorrow. I don't think we go moderate, but I think we'll get to an enhanced risk. I don't think tomorrow's severe weather will be significant enough to get to that moderate risk, but I could be wrong. You never know. Again, I'm just kind of going off of what I know here and what I'm forecasting, but I swear autocorrect is going to kill me. Autocorrect can be painful sometimes. I have a lot of stories about autocorrect. I've heard about the Minnesota Wilds. Isn't that a hockey team? Yes, Monique? Max with a question mark? Yeah, I will, Bugsy. Don't worry, yeah. I mean, I usually don't go to bed until 3 or 4 a.m. anyways to begin with, but yes, we will be getting some rest. Again, I don't know if I'll be live tomorrow. We'll see. I might do, probably try to do a late morning live stream, but I'm not entirely sure yet if I will be doing a full severe weather coverage. Depends on my schedule, but always a good reminder to make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. If you're new here to the channel, we're 36 subscribers from 54,000. So again, if you're new, subscribe down below. It's the red button down below. It's free to do. And again, you will be able to get notified with the latest videos and live streams by clicking the bell icon as well while you're down there. Let's go, Metallic. Welcome back. I do not, Monique. No. Thank you, Strange, for the report. Yeah, a lot of these storms have a lot of lightning. Even the ones back up in Minnesota, there's definitely a lot of lightning with those storms. Plenty of lightning. Obviously, these look to be strong, pretty strong storms right now as well. And actually, we can go ahead and do this real quick. One of the good things I do like about using Radar Omega is they do have lightning detection and stuff. I'm going to pull that on as well. The St. Paul area. Again, severe thunderstorm watch is ongoing. Not really much of a tornado risk here, but I do want to pull up the lightning. It might take me a second to find this, but we'll find it somewhere. Lightning detection. We'll do every 15 minutes. So there's a decent amount of lightning. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but you'll notice all the lightning strikes here. Spanning from about Mason City back through areas in Minnesota. It's not like a huge amount, but there is some lightning here and there. It's occasional for the most part. Mankato, I think it was where you're saying. So yeah, there's some lightning strikes, and it's nothing too crazy across that area. It's pretty minimal overall. A lot of storm activity though, that's for sure. There's a lot of storm activity. The only severe thunderstorm warning left at this point is going to be the one west of Chicago. It's going to be this one here. So we still got that severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-per-hour winds, south of Rochelle, west of Aurora, going towards Chicago. We're looking at there. A lot of storm activity still. Just not much severe weather remaining. Giv, I'm liking it. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm actually going to be working, I'm pretty sure, with Radar Omega here from here on out. And it's not official, but I'll most likely start using their stuff a lot more in the live streams. I actually do like a lot of the stuff on there, though. I mean, they have, like, lightning detection, and they have, like, sound effects, too. So when there's a tornado warning, it's easy to know. Instead of having to go to my other tab where it says, you know, there's a tornado warning now here, looking at Twitter or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of cool features to it. And when I start using it more, I'll kind of point those things out. But there's a lot of cool stuff on it. It's definitely different from what I'm using right now. I mean, the one I'm using right now, you know, looks like almost like a news station for what it's worth with this radar. But yeah, I do like a lot of the features with Radar Omega. Madison, Wisconsin. Anywhere in Wisconsin is just rain. Madison as well, so you're fine for the rest of tonight. Severe weather's not expected there. Yeah, windy.com too has a pretty good lightning detection. I haven't really used Windy for that particular purpose, but they do have a lot of different models and stuff on there now. They've been growing pretty nicely. Which I do use it for some of my forecasting on Facebook for my North Texas Weather Center page, just for computer models, but even then, not really too much of anything crazy. Camping in Southwest Michigan tonight. Southwest Michigan should be all right. You might see some storm activity overnight, but it should be pretty minimal. Tomorrow during the early, or not early morning, but late morning, early afternoon is when the next chance for storms would likely be, though. There's a low chance overnight. This warning officially expires in 3 minutes. And, yeah, severe weather is again winding down. And I don't know really why I'm still live, but I'm still here. I do want to mention again, just real quick before we go too much further into this. Friendly reminder, we do have a shop, shopmaxvelocity.net. We have a lot of merchandise on here, Shop Max Velocity, like Max Velocity merchandise. We also have some exclusive and very limited releases, especially for the flying trampoline stuff. If you are a fan of the flying trampoline stuff that we have some specified for Texas. We also have some specified to Max Velocity. You can feel free to get one of these. They have different color shirts as well. You can get pink, blue, green, all that sort of stuff on shopmaxvelocity.net. We also have a Tornadic Supercell collection. You might notice at the bottom right. We do have a Supercell hat now available. It's in colors like white, black and white, as well as navy, pink, and red. Again, you can check this out at shopmaxvelocity.net. I will go ahead and leave this link in the chat and just kind of show you. I'll show you the face cam, but I don't know if this will show very well. But I do actually have a shirt already, and I also have a hat. They are very high quality merchandise. This is like a Bella canvas shirt. If you've ever had one of these, they are super comfortable. They are really, really good products. I mean, I cannot even stress that enough. I did have an old provider. We had a merchandise store last year for a brief amount of time. It was a brief stint. It was mostly just random stuff, but we used to have a merchandise store, and the quality was just not there. You know, it was unfortunate. I mean, I use them pretty often, but like the shirts just felt rough. This one feels super soft and comfortable. I mean, you could literally use this as a blanket. I'm not even kidding. Like it's good stuff. I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm just telling you, like, it's actually pretty quality stuff. So if you ever want to get something from shopmaxvelocity.net, the link is in the chat. It's also in the description of videos and live streams. If you purchase anything, $1 is donated to the ocean cleanup for every hat and shirt sold. So if you buy 2 hats, you would donate $2 pretty much. That's how it kind of works. So, but yeah, that's it for that, though. I just want to kind of throw it out there. Again, the flying trampoline merchandise on the store that includes the mugs, the sticker, and the shirts will be going away July 5th or 6th. got about a week or so. But other than that, the Supercell hat will be staying there for a while, so there's no rush to really buy it, but obviously it is a really cool hat, and it's the time of the year. But other than that, we are currently now done with the severe thunderstorm warnings. We are now back down to all regular warnings, which pretty much means now we are at a good time to probably end the stream. Yeah, the hat's really cool. Again, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, it's like in these hats are embroidered. I have a hat in my other room. I'm not going to go run and get it, but I do have a hat. It's embroidered, so it's like stitched in there. But this hat in particular, again, if you're going to get a hat at my store, this one easily is probably the best one. It's a trucker hat too, so it's nice. And again, it's high quality products. They're comfortable, and shipping is really cheap as well. So the price is pretty much what you're paying. It's like a few bucks for shipping. That's basically about it. But again, shopmaxvelocity.net. The link's in the description. It's also put in the chat somewhere. But yeah, if you want to purchase something, helps out the page a lot. And again, you do support a cause at the ocean cleanup. We've already donated and contributed to the ocean cleanup. So we've already done that for the first little run that we've done in the past month. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning real quick for Waterloo. This is for quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Surprisingly, the storm's actually intensified a little bit. So near Waterloo, Iowa, there is now a new severe thunderstorm warning for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. That'll be moving down to the east and east-southeast. So also, just a friendly reminder, if you don't want to buy merchandise, but you want to still support the page, you can become a member. There is a link at the top of the description, and also there's donate links down in the description as well. If you ever want to support the page, it helps us out a lot. If you don't become a member during the stream, but you do, off a stream or something like that, I'll make sure to recognize you in the next stream. But that's going to do it for this live stream tonight. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. And again, I do appreciate all the super chats and new members tonight. We are officially over 100 members again. And yeah, that's about it for tonight. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. We've been live for almost about 3.5 hours now. And it's been a very productive live stream. Hopefully everybody found it very informative and enjoyable if you're not from these areas. Obviously, we had that really fast little rapid forecast we've never done before. In about 28 minutes, the Storm Prediction Center will come out with their next outlook for severe weather. So that'll be coming out in 28 minutes for tomorrow. I will not be live for that, but that will be something that comes out on their Twitter page and obviously on the Storm Prediction Center website. But yeah, make sure to stay safe tomorrow. If I do go live tomorrow, again, it'll be during the late morning and maybe during the evening hours. Otherwise, make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts. Make sure to stay tuned with your local National Weather Service. They give you a lot of informative and good forecasts. And yeah, that's going to do it for the live stream. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great set for the rest of your night, guys. And again, if you are new, make sure to subscribe down below, like the video before you leave. And again, if you want to purchase any merchandise, if I don't go live again in between now and when I go on vacation, which is in about like a few days from now, again, Flying Trampoline merchandise will be gone July 6th. I'll remind you guys on YouTube and YouTube community posts and stuff like that, and on Discord. And also for the, I think that's it. That was it. So yeah, just reminders for you all. If you want to get that Flying Trampoline merchandise, that'll be the last time to do so. And it'll be gone forever. We might release some other line of it in the near future, but for right now, that's it. All right, have a great night, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and I'll see you guys all again soon. Thank you so much.